I go around and I go around and I go around, I go around. I'm always out, I am always out, I am always out, I'm always out. I keep running so I don't have to go.
Welcome to another Vanderpump Rules video. If you're new here, my name is Mila. I make everything from college, lifestyle, and bookish type content. I recently started doing these like TV show breakdown videos because it shows that I love. There's so much drama and it's just like so fun making these videos. Also, this like a lot of time, so I do apologize that part 1 was filmed such a long time ago, but I promise by summer we'll have the entirety of Vanderpump Rules, schedule allowing. I promise we're gonna make it happen, if not by like literally June, which I feel like is reasonable. Obviously this is part 2, so if you haven't watched part 1, definitely go check it out first. I'm gonna link it in the description bar down below because you definitely want to see all the tea, all the drama that happened. Also, everyone that's on the board over here, I'm not gonna explain like who they are, I'm just gonna give their names as a refresher. But if you want to see who they are, how they come into play, just everything about them, definitely go check that out. I know it's a long video, but it's full of drama, it's entertaining. These people, honestly, it surprises me that they're like actually people, because I'm like, there's no way these people actually exist. If you've already watched that, then grab a drink, grab a snack, sit down, get comfy, because we're gonna be here for a while to break down the seasons 4, 5, and 6 of Vanderpump Rules. Also, I want to say I washed my hair. I did something different, so it might be looking a little funky. We're gonna ignore if my hair is looking weird. By part 5, well, I mean, no, not part 5, by season 5, things should get fixed. But yeah, I tried something out, not really know how I'm vibing with it. So yes, if my hair looks weird, that's what it is. But yeah, let's just like hop into who everyone is just as a refresher. So obviously, Lisa Vanderpump, middle of everything. We have her daughter Pandora and her husband Jason. We have Lisa's son, Max. Here we have Peter. He started seeing this girl called Sarah this season. I couldn't find a picture of her like separately, so I just like put this picture of them together. Obviously, Sheena Shay, the happy married couple. We have Tom and Katie. We're kind of like, we ended with an ultimatum. We're gonna see what happens. Tom and Ariana. Then we have Jax, Stassi, James, Kristen, and Kristen's friend Rachel. So we do have 3 new characters. 2 are very prominent who are gonna come this season, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's dive into episode 1 of season 4. So season 4 starts with finding out that Jax is at nose job number 3. He had like some complications like calluses, some just like aesthetic things after nose job number 2. So went in for nose job number 3. He's at nose 3. How many noses will he be at once we're done this series? Who knows? But nose job number 3. Also, we find out Kristen is absolutely banned from certain pump while James is DJing. Because apparently, I mean, like, it's no surprise to anyone, but when James was working, Kristen came in with friends, kind of like started a little ruckus, and then she ended up throwing a glass or drink at James. So Lisa was like, this is season 4, we're not doing this shit anymore, goodbye. But we have Sheena and Katie who are talking, and they're kind of like gossiping about Stassi. So apparently Stassi, she used to be dating this guy called Patrick. They were living together, and through like the grapevine, they found out that Stassi's no longer living with him. They haven't broken up, but they're kind of on a break to see like how to fix things and to see, okay, like, can we fix things, or is it like the end of the relationship? Also, we remember how end of season 3, it ended with Katie giving Tom an ultimatum. So it's been past that limit. I forget how much it was. I think it was like 6 or 9 months. It was past that, but Katie's like, I can feel the ring coming. So we're like, okay, I hope that she's not just like, I hope that she like knows like the gut feeling inside, because I like Katie. I don't want Katie to get hurt. But yeah, she's like, there's no ring yet, but I can feel it coming. So ultimatum like doesn't really matter for now. Do we remember Carmen? So Carmen and Jax are no longer dating, but they're still friendly, they're still friends. And at work, like, these two have their conversation, but then Jax and James are also having a conversation, and Jax is like, hey, really be careful around Kristen, because obviously he heard what happened and like pump. He's like, hey, be very careful around Kristen, like, don't have her affecting your career. And then they also get to talking about Carmen. Jax finds out that she was seen like making out with someone, and he's like, he's not really feeling, like, even though they're not dating, he's not feeling his best. So Kristen is still friends with Carmen, and that's how James knew that information. That's why he told it to Jax. And obviously Jax and Kristen are friends. So Jax calls Kristen and he's like, oh, this is what James told me, like, is it true, blah, blah, blah. So they talk about that. After Kristen calls James and she's like, yo, like, why did you tell Jax that? Obviously it leads into a huge fight. She calls him crazy. He calls her a dumbass. She calls him a moron. It goes back and forth. And like, obviously it's those two. So it's like not really productive. And obviously James right now, he's pissed because he's like, well, okay, because of Jax, now I have to deal with Kristen. I don't want to deal with Kristen, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, Jack's mom comes into town, and his mom and Sheena actually have the same birthday. Her, Shay, Jax, and his mom all go to Villa Blanca. Villa Rosa's Lisa's house. They go to Villa Blanca to have a little dinner. Obviously, they start talking about the girls that Jax has been seeing. And Jax's mom is like, you know, I think you should probably take a break from dating girls, but obviously it's Jax, so we know, like, it's not gonna happen. And then Sheena actually asks, oh, like, out of curiosity, how many of the girls that Jax has been dating have you met? So they kind of start talking about the girls who Jax is seeing, and we find out now he's dating a girl called Carter and then also a girl called Brittany. Carter lives in LA, Brittany's like out of state. They kind of call her like Kentucky for now because she lives in Kentucky, but you're gonna say Brittany is slowly gonna move to LA and drama's gonna ensue. So as I mentioned, it's Sheena's birthday, her 30th birthday, and obviously she's having a party. But Kristen, where's Kristen? Kristen is not invited. So James, he goes to Kristen's apartment, he brings her flowers and he apologizes for like everything with Jax, even though like he's like, I didn't need to apologize. I'm just gonna apologize because it's Kristen. Like I don't want to deal with this. So they go, and then Kristen's like, oh, you know, you're gonna bring me as your +1, right? James is like, well, no, like you weren't invited. I'm not gonna do that. Obviously causes a fight. James leaves. People are screaming. It's not fun. Not fun. Sheena's 30th birthday. Obviously people are drinking. It's this gang, things are gonna happen. So there's like a theme going on. Carmen didn't want to come, so Jax is like, you know what, I'll just bring Carter. And then Kristen, not invited, but she crashes the party. I don't remember if she came with Rachel or with someone else, but crashes the party, which already surprised her Kristen. When she walks in, she goes directly to James. James is ordering a drink and starts a fight. And Kristen basically says, like, you're on your way to becoming an alcoholic. Which, like, I get that Kristen is like worried for him and James like does very visibly have a problem, but it's like you're literally instigating everything and like this, like you're the cause of so many problems. But anyway, I digress. Later on into the night, the whole gang is passing on a bottle of Fireball and drinking. It gets to James. James just downs it as if it's water, like living his best life. He's also talking to Sheena's friend Jenna, kind of flirty, chit-chatty, and he kind of like starts to open up about Kristen. He's like, honestly, Kristen is the reason why I drink. So we're like, that's great, that's fun. And that ends episode 1. Episode 2. I turned on another light because I felt like it was kind of dark. I don't know if I'm just going crazy or if it's just because it's a gloomy day, but I'm positive if the lighting is a little off. I hate filming when it's gloomy outside because it's like literally, I don't know what I'm doing with my lights. I don't know. Anyways, yes, we have 2 new staff at the restaurant. We have Lala and we have Faith. I ran out of like normal tape while I was like taping everyone up, so we're using double-sided tape. Lala, basically she's a new hostess, and then Faith is gonna be a new server. So Sheena is kind of chatting with people about the party, and we find out a little bit about what James did. That is a little sus, but like, it's his word against everyone else's, so what exactly happened, we do not know just yet. But basically, what happened? After Sheena's party, Shay called James and Jenna an Uber because they do live close by, so it made sense that they would leave together. James's story was that the Uber dropped off Jenna and then it dropped off James, but then Kristen actually called Sheena because there was a charge on her credit card for James, basically going from Jenna's apartment to James's apartment. So the whole question now is like, did James spend the night at Jenna's and what happened? Oh my god, I gotta finish putting Faith on because we do have our 3rd new character of the season, who is Brittany. Let's put Faith up here. Brittany, as I mentioned, the girl that Jax was dating from Kentucky. So she flies to LA for a few days and Jax brings her to Sir. So basically he wants her to get a job at Sir, but she's not really dressing very professionally. I think she was wearing just like a romper, like just like casual and fun. When Lisa calls them in to, not her office, but like when Lisa has her talk with them, she's like, oh, do you have a CV? And Brittany's like, no. So Lisa's like, well, you're not dressed professionally. You don't have a CV. Sure, I'll take your word for where you worked, but like, you do realize how this looks, right? So she refuses to give Brittany a job and basically sends her home. We're gonna put Brittany next to Jax right over here. So James and Kristen goes to lunch, and Kristen asks James about the whole Jenna thing. She's like, okay, what exactly happened? Because I have this charge. Like, did you sleep with Jenna? Why are we even at Jenna's place? Blah, blah, blah. So Kristen, like, she's not dumb. She knows, okay, James, like, slept over. Chances are something happened. But James is basically denying it. He says, like, nothing happened. He doesn't own up to any of the lies. So Kristen's like, you know what? I'm done with you. We're broken up. We're done. We're over. The entire store gang goes out for drinks. Faith, Lala are there. And Lala basically tells everyone that she's going to Italy for a modeling job. So everyone at first is like, you know, you literally like just started asking for a time off. It's like kind of odd, but Lisa's like very accommodating to people who are like in the modeling or like movie, just whatever, like the LA industry, basically. She's very accommodating. So she, like, Lala's able to get a time off work. But Katie and Sheena are talking and they're like, I don't think Lala is being honest about why she's going to Italy. Because they're basically like, Lala isn't some like top model that's like very well known. Like, she's a model, but there's like so many other more famous names. Like, they wouldn't just fly her out to Italy for a modeling job, you know? So they're like, something seems a little bit sus. So James and Kristen have another talk about that night. James actually goes over to Kristen's and he basically confesses about everything. He's like, yes, I did go back to Jenna's, like we kissed, she was trying to take my top off, but like I told her no. They start talking and eventually he's like, yeah, I did lie to you for your own good. So we're like, James, what are you talking about for your own good? The next day at work, Katie and Sheena are talking and they really don't like the crowd that Lala associates herself with. They're like, I don't think she's like a normal model because of her Instagram picture and just like how she acts and things like that. So they're like, you know, I think she's probably flying out to Italy to do you know what, right? So they bring it to Lisa and they're like, hey, you know, I don't think she's being like super honest with you. Lisa's like, okay, I'm gonna consider, but like don't spread rumors, like you don't know much about her, like be nice to her. But obviously it's in the back of Lisa's head, so we know that Lisa's gonna ask her when she comes back. Ariana and Sheena are also talking work, and Ariana has obviously never been a fan of Kristen, but she's kind of like very critical about Sheena and Kristen's like friendship. And you know, she's like, well, Sheena, like why are you being friends with Kristen? Like she's not a good person, she's like taking advantage of you. And Sheena's like, well, she never did anything bad to me, so I don't see the problem with like being her friend. Which, like, fair, but it's like, yeah, now, like, things are fine, but do you not remember, like, at the beginning how, like, mean she was to you? But anyways, I digress, and that marks the end of episode 2. So episode number 3, Lala's back from Italy, and Lisa asked her, hey, so, you know, who are you modeling for? Who were their photographers? Because obviously Lisa has her connections, and then Lala kind of owns up. She's like, well, you know, I was supposed to go to Italy to be, like, arm candy, technically, but I didn't end up going. I just went back home to see my mom because Sheena and Katie are being like very mean. So we started kind of like seeing who Lala like actually is. But I do still feel bad for her because like Sheena and Katie, obviously they're not saying the nicest things about her. It's not exactly false, but it's not exactly true. And like it's just a shitty thing to do to talk about that like at work to like Lala's work colleagues. So later on that night, Katie finds Sheena alone crying in the bathroom and obviously she's like, what happened? And we kind of see a little bit into Sheena and Shay's marriage and like the problems that they're going through, especially Shay. So the night before, we find out that Shay went out drinking with a few of his friends, and one of the friends actually calls Sheena, basically saying how Shay was saying that he was like super depressed, he wasn't happy. And then Sheena tells Katie that Shay hasn't really been home for a while. He was staying with his parents to kind of like deal with things. So like I feel so bad for Sheena because I was so happy with her and Shay because like Shay seemed like an actual healthy person compared to the other guys on the show. So that kind of like broke my heart a little bit finding out about that. Next day we have Sheena who goes shopping with Tom and Tom for Katie's wedding ring. Like Sheena's basically there to tell Tom, okay, like this is what she actually wants. Like don't do something stupid because we like Schwartz, but he's a little like he kind of needs to be supervised at times. Then Tom obviously knows a bit about like the whole situation because Katie told him. So they ask Sheena about it and she's like, he hasn't really been home for 4 days, haven't really heard from him. Then after the shopping trip, Sheena actually goes talks with Lisa. Obviously Lisa heard. So she's asking about it and we find out that Shay has been drinking a lot more since Christmas. So probably for like 5-ish months, he started like really drinking more. And we also find out that he takes pills, sometimes 5 a day. We're gonna see that his worst days he does take more than 5. I mean, obviously, like, he's probably past this, but like thoughts and prayers go out to Shay. Hope he gets better. And that's the end of episode 3. So episode 4. You remember how Jax and Brittany are dating, right? But he still is constantly flirting with Lala, trying to get with Lala, and his whole excuse is like, oh, I'm not married to Brittany or anything, so like it's fine. And I'm like, Jax, I do not think that's how relationships work. But anyways, so Brittany is back in LA again, and her and Jax go back to Sarah, back to see Lisa to get a job. And Brittany is dressed like better now, more professionally, but she still doesn't have her CV. So Lisa's like, girl, what are we doing? So Lisa sends them back home again. Both Toms and James go out for lunch, and we find out that James wants to go to therapy. So we're like, that's great. Love that. That's absolutely amazing. We also find out that like he opens up a bit more about him and Kristen. And in the past month, 30 days, maybe 31, 30 days, James and Kristen broke up and got back together 9 times. That is a bit much. That's like every 3-4 days. Very concerning, but conversation goes to a whole other place, and the Toms are talking about potentially going into business with Lisa. So they do want to do something different. Schwartz, obviously, Katie has been telling him, hey, like, please get a real job because, like, you know, when we get married, like, you need to be able to bring in like somebody that's like regular. They plan to go into business with Lisa. We're gonna see it's an absolute disaster, but I like the ambition. James and Kristen end up going to therapy. Kristen says that she feels like he's not really responsible. He acts like very immature and like a child. And James is like, well, I am feeling like very parented. I do feel like a kid and you're like scolding me constantly. They try to talk about it, but like nothing really works out. You can see on the therapist's face, she's like, yikes. So Tom, Ariana, Tom, Katie, and then where are they? Peter and Sarah go out. So Sarah, as I mentioned, is someone that Peter is dating. So Sarah actually has a kid, but she's like, I forget if she was married before or if she was not, but she has a kid, and she actually brings up the topic about marriage and kids. Tom says that like he can actually see himself getting there with Ariana, but Ariana's like, honestly, I don't know if that's something that I want. Like, it has nothing to do with Tom. It's just like she never really, like, I know back in season 3 we were seeing her kind of like debated, but like she's never really wanted that, and she's like, you know, honestly not really for me. So at Sarah, as I mentioned, we have Jax who's kind of flirting with Lala, but now we have James who kind of starts flirting with Lala because like they're on the same age. They seem to like get along like really well. So that's something that starts over here. We finally have the Toms who go to Lisa to talk about the sangria business. Jason and Pandora are there because they're the ones who are in charge of LVP Sangria, which is Lisa Vanderpump Sangria. And they don't really have a plan. They just thought that they could like come in and wing it. So Pandora's like, guys, yeah, this is not gonna work. Like, go home and come back when you have like an actual business plan. So we have Ariana, Tom, Katie, Tom, who all go to Sheena's because Shay is finally coming back. Basically, everyone just wanted to be there to support him and Sheena. So he walks in. It's actually very emotional. He starts like breaking down and crying when he sees Sheena. And then they start having a conversation. So Tom asks, like, hey, are you addicted to pills? Shay opens up and he's like, yeah, basically like 5 a day, sometimes 10. And he says that like he's been on them since he met the gang, which is like 3 years. Like, it breaks your heart because you thought that like Sheena and Shay were going so well, and like Sheena didn't even know about it. Like, that's the heartbreaking thing. Sheena had no idea. She's like finding out the same time as everyone else, and like honestly, this poor girl. Shay actually opens up and says like, I've been feeling very miserable, sad, and depressed for the past 2 years. And also, it kind of like messes with Sheena's head because she's like, basically for the whole time that you were with me, you were feeling that way, and it's like, how does that make me feel about myself, you know? So they kind of have a conversation about that, and then they basically agree that, okay, Sheena's gonna kind of like take a step back, not talk over him, because he did feel like kind of intimidated by her. He couldn't really like talk to her. So she's like, yeah, I'll take a step back. Shay's like, okay, I will speak up. And they also agreed to do this like drug testing because Sheena, obviously after having like discovered all that, doesn't really trust him. So they come to this agreement to, you know, work themselves back up. Episode 5 starts with James and Lala going out on a date. He tells her, hey, I'm completely done with Kristen, we're broken up. And they have fun, very flirty. They share a little kiss, and they plan a second date. So you're like, okay, this is going well. James needs someone who's like healthier than Kristen. So I'm like, that's amazing. We love that. Kristen shows up at Sarah while James is working. That's when we kind of see, okay, like James hasn't really been super honest with Lala. Basically, they're talking about when Kristen went to Detroit for a modeling job. She finished her modeling job, and then she went out for a drink with the people who she was working with. James tried texting her, tried calling her, and no answer. The phone was like basically off. So Kristen's like, yeah, my phone was off the entire time. But James is like, okay, she was going out drinking. She was with people. He doesn't really trust that she did not cheat on him. And honestly, I think that probably happened also. But yeah, they have a conversation about that. They're basically both like getting annoyed at the other person. So not a very productive conversation. Sandoval actually like really tries to help Sheena and Shay get back on track. He's like going over, making them healthy breakfast, taking Shay to workout classes. So we love that. We love a good supportive friend, Sandoval. Also, Peter cuts off his ponytail. That blew my mind because it was the iconic ponytail. Peter cut it off. Honestly, the first time I saw him at Star without it, I didn't recognize him. That's like how much it looks like a completely different person without the ponytail. Lala and James go on their second date, and James opens up. He's like, you know, I was honestly like kind of nervous to ask you out. They talk, have a good time, and they agreed to make a little track because obviously James, producer, DJ type vibe. Lala, she does sing, and the song, I heard snippets on the show. For what it was, it actually was not that bad. And then we're gonna see something later on. There was like a CD that I do really want to listen to out of curiosity. I haven't listened to it yet, but that's something I do want to do, honestly, like right after filming this video. At work, Lisa pulls Sheena aside and they have a conversation, and Lisa's like super supportive. She's like, marriage is hard, but like there's all these amazing things, kind of like talks about marriage. And she's like, if you ever need absolutely anything, I'm here for you. Like, do not hesitate to reach out. We have Lala, James, Jax, Katie, Sheena, and Faith, who all go out. And James like talks about his breakup with Kristen. Kristen shows up. We find out that James has been lying to both of them because Kristen and Lala do get to talking. And then Kristen finds out that he has been seeing Lala. Lala finds out, oh, like, so James lied to me about, like, having broken up with Kristen. And Kristen tells Lala that James has actually been calling her, like, really, like, gross and icky names before they got together. So Lala, obviously, she's fuming, she's pissed. She goes talks to James. And James's whole defense is, like, being mad at her for listening to Kristen. So Lala storms off, James leaves, they're both pissed. Are we expecting anything else from Vanderpump Rules? Episode 6 starts with a very cute, wholesome, and demure conversation between Jax and Sheena. So Jax basically asks Sheena, oh, like, what would you do if you have 5 days to live? So Sheena's like, oh, you know, I would travel. Jax is like, yeah, you know, I would kill everyone who I hate. James being the first. So we're like, that's cute, that's fun, I love that. James goes to Lala's, he apologizes for the night before, they make their song, and then they agree, hey, we're gonna continue seeing each other, but just keep it very, very casual. Then something happens after they, like, okay, in James's defense, they did agree to keep it casual, but in Lala's defense, like, he should not have been, like, that blatantly, like, obvious that something was going on. So, we have James, who shows up to Sir full of scratches and bite marks, which, like, yes, you guys did agree to see other people, but also, like, that's very, very disrespectful towards Lala. So when he walks in, he sees Lala and then this other hostess, Lauren, together. So Lauren, she doesn't really come in later on in the show, so I didn't put her picture. But yeah, she's another hostess at Sir. James walks in, he sees them together. Obviously, at first, he's like, yikes. Then he goes says hi to Lauren and he kisses Lala. And we're like, okay, that's weird. Does Lauren know what's going on with him and Lala? Like, does Lala know about Lauren? It just seems like a little murky. So Lauren, I don't know if she just felt uncomfortable. She didn't want to like start anything between them. So she leaves. And then Lala's like, hey, what the hell are all these like scratches on your back? And like, is that a bite mark? And James is like mad that she's asking her about it, which is like, yes, you guys aren't like together, you're not like exclusive, but like it was a lot. Like, I don't have a picture, but it was a lot. Like, it looked really bad. Lala, obviously, like, she's not stupid. Like, she knows that it's because like James slept with someone, and she doesn't know that it was Lauren that he slept with. So she's talking to Lauren and she's like complaining. She's actually like really mad, and Lauren's like, just forget about it, like, it probably doesn't mean anything. Lauren's playing it off as if it's like no big deal, but Lala's like, no, like, I have to find out who this girl is. Lala confronts James and she's like really trying to get information out of him to find out who this girl was, and James like owns up, says that it was Lauren. Lauren over here, she literally like runs away, and we find out Lauren is actually dating a bartender at Sir called Anthony. So Lala goes up to Anthony and she's like, hey, did you know that like Lauren slept with James? Anthony doesn't believe it, and like it starts a big thing. Like, Lala, she's like very distressed, very like annoyed, mad, and I totally get it, but it started causing a scene. So Jax comes in and he's like, do you want to leave? Just go to Tom's, grab a drink, like chill. She's like, yeah, whatever, let's go. And they leave hand in hand. It was a very chaotic episode, but that marks the end of episode 6. Episode 7 starts with Tom, and Katie talking about the business plan because they're like really trying to get ready to actually like get a deal with Pandora. Their business plan is to have no plan. So Katie's like, oh my god, it's gonna be an absolute disaster. Like, you guys are actually idiots. But obviously they don't listen to her. They're like, no plan is the plan. And I'm like, you know what? Delusion is the way to go. Delusion for the win. This part is actually kind of sad, but James goes to lunch with his mom because his mom is in LA. They start talking about Kristen, and his mom can like clearly see that Kristen is like not good for him. So she's like, hey, you really, really need to stop seeing Kristen. It's unhealthy. She's not good for you. She's dragging you down. And then they move on to a conversation where like the whole reason why they went to get lunch was because James's mom and dad were having problems. and it was like leading towards a divorce, but like the divorce like actually happened. And James breaks down, he's crying, he's really sad. Like I honestly felt so bad for him. And he says that like he started drinking a lot more because like as a coping mechanism. When you pair that with Kristen, this poor guy, it does not excuse his behavior and like how he talks, but like this poor guy was going through so much. It kind of like breaks your heart, you know? Like it kind of makes you feel bad for him even though he's not really acting very mature and very demure. So at work the next day, James was having a conversation with, where is he? With Jax and Sandoval. And he needs to go to Kristen's place to pick up a few things, but he's like, I really don't want to see Kristen. Like I can do it. And then Jax actually brings up that Kristen is seeing this guy called Alex, who's his friend, and James gets pissed, and he really gets mad at Jax because he's like, why would you tell me that when you know like I had something with Kristen? It doesn't start a fight, but it starts like a little something. James is just a very volatile person. Like anything that you say that like sets him off, he would like explode. Yes, he dealt with a lot. It's not a good coping mechanism, but it's his coping mechanism, and like Jax knows that. And it's like, was that necessary for Jax to tell him at this moment? Maybe not. But like doesn't really get James in the best mood for going to see Kristen. And I feel like that's why things ensue, because what happens when James goes to Kristen's is one of the funniest things I have ever seen on reality TV. I was like, there is no way this actually happened. James goes to Kristen's. Obviously, it's not going to be very amicable, right? James has the amazing idea to bring up Alex, which, like, maybe not the best decision to do. But anyways, he brings up Alex. And Kristen, obviously, she's pissed. She's mad because he's not saying the best things about Alex. James is mad. They start bickering. And then James is like, well, you know what, Kristen? I thought I would actually miss you, but I actually think about Lala more than I think about you. Kristen brings up, like, the bite marks. She calls him Ratchet. James is like, well, you know what, Kristen? You're Ratchet. Hearing this conversation actually blows my mind because like no one who I know would like have this type of conversation. But anyways, James calls her Ratchet right back, and then they really start going off. James storms out. He spits on her door. She's obviously screaming at him like, did you actually just spit on my door? He walks away and he's like, bye slut. It's not funny, but just how he spit, and then they were calling each other names and he was like, bye slut from like halfway down the hallway. It blows my mind how these people actually exist, you know? While all that is happening, we have the Toms who go to Lisa's to re-talk business, right? Schwartz is leading here. He's like, this is like what I propose, this is what I want. Sandoval isn't really like agreeing with Tom, so he kind of like tries to step in, but Schwartz isn't letting him, and it ends with them basically agreeing to not get paid, but still promote the business. Both Tom seem super happy, but then Lisa, Pandora, and Jason are like, okay, so we're agreeing that we're not gonna pay you and you do this for us. And the Toms are like, yeah. So all three of them are very confused, but the Toms seem happy, so they're like, well, okay, sure. Brittany's back in LA now for good. Basically, Jax is like, you know what, you should move in with me. He was also telling everyone that he would not move in with Brittany, but Jax is like, oh no, Brittany's different, like, it's gonna work out. And it's like, you're literally telling everyone you didn't want to move in with this girl, and now you like, she like landed for not even a day. And he's like, yeah, you know what? You're moving in with me. And we're like, oh god, oh no, this obviously it's not gonna work out. But I digress. And he also tells her about Lala. And Brittany's like kind of confused because she's like, Jax is insinuating that Lala like approached him, was like pursuing him when she knew that Jax was like seeing me. So she's like, would this girl actually do that? Like she doesn't know, she's kind of like unsure. Then we have Ariana and Tom who are talking about Ariana's birthday plans. So Ariana wants to have this kind of like, think of like a kid's birthday party, pool party type vibe, but like for adults, right? So that's the plan. She's very excited. And then Peter actually comes up to Tom and he's like, hey, you know, we're doing this trip for my birthday, like you're invited. And Ariana's like, okay, well, like I'm not invited. But Peter's like, you know what, it's just the guys. It's a guy's trip. But Ariana's like still mad because Tom would be leaving like the day after her birthday. Tom is like, yes, he wants to go. He doesn't really see like from her point of view how it would upset her. Jax and James are talking at work. And Jax basically calls him out for spitting on Kristen's door. Starts a little fight. It gets like very, very loud, very, very vocal. Obviously the entire restaurant can hear. So Lisa storms in, she's pissed off and she's like, hey, James, you raise your voice one more time, you're done. You're done. I'm not hiring you back again. Like, yes, I have a good relationship with your mom. That's how you got the job. But like, do not push your luck. So episode 8 starts off with Ariana, Sheena, and Katie talking about the boys' trip. And Katie is pissed because she's like, Tom is not going. Like, I don't know if he thinks he's going. He's not going because he lost his boys' trip privileges after cheating on me. So Katie, like, not super happy. While they're having that conversation, James and Lala have a conversation, and they both find out that neither of them were invited to Ariana's party, and Lala's kind of like surprised because she was like, oh, I thought Ariana and I were like good, we were friends, but they're both like, you know what, screw them, we'll go out for drinks, just us two, who needs to go to that party? Katie talks to Schwartz, Ariana talks to Sandoval, and they're both like, yeah, you're not going to this trip. And Tom's plan, well, Sandoval's plan, is to kind of like butter her up, have her have fun at her birthday, to be like, okay, so you're happy now, so that means I can go on the trip, right? That's his plan. We're gonna see what happens, but yeah, he thinks like that's an amazing idea. She's gonna be like perfectly fine with me going on the trip. Then Ariana's 30th birthday, once again, pool party for kids, but like they're adults. Think like a bounce house, sumo fight suit things, like just like super fun vibes. Ariana having the best time of her life, absolutely loving it. So at this party, Katie and Tom talk. Tom tells her that he's going, and Katie's like, well, no, like, you remember what happened last time? Tom is like very insistent. He's like, I'm going, I really want to go. Katie breaks down, starts crying, and she's like, I cannot trust him, right? She ends up going to talk to Ariana. Ariana's like, yeah, Tom's not going either. Like, obviously they do not have a good history. They're both obviously like very emotional. They both like really don't want the guys to go because they do not trust them. And then Ariana really breaks down and opens up about why she doesn't want Tom to go. Like, her dad always gave her a little speech. Like, he was always there for her birthday. They had this like little tradition, and it's the first year without her dad. She's like, that's why I don't want to be alone. That's why I don't want Tom to go. So it breaks down, like, they really have a heart to heart, and I actually feel like it's really sad. It's really sad. And at this point, I don't know if Tom knew about, like, obviously he knew her dad passed, but I don't know if he knew about the tradition. But yeah, it kind of like broke my heart seeing her like break down on her birthday about that. Sheena comes, sees them crying. She really tries to cheer Ariana up, and Ariana ends up having a really, really great time. So we love that. I'm super happy for her. But her and Tom actually talk like at the end of the birthday, and she explains to him why it's so hard for her to let him go. Tom is like really, really understanding. He's like, hey, I'm not gonna leave you. Like, I'm here for you. I'm physically here for you. And then he's like, but there's bulldozers, but there's these other cool things. And it's like, dude. But alas, both Toms go, had very little faith in them, but they actually behaved really well, so I love that. So while they're gone, Sheena has a little sleepover. She invites Ariana, Katie, Faith, and then later on, she's like, you know what, let's just call Lala, let's invite Lala over. So Lala comes over, and the girls actually have a lot of fun. Ariana and Katie kind of like play around with the boys. They send them a picture of them kissing, and then the boys think it's like super funny, so Tom and Tom send them a picture back of them kissing. Just like overall, you can tell that there is a little difference in the guys, like they are taking things more seriously, and I really think it's because everyone is in a relationship. Everyone kind of holds each other accountable. I hope that in future boys trips it's the same thing, but alas, I do not know. I haven't gone there in the series yet. We shall see. And the guys actually call the girls at night before going to bed, so super cute, super fun, super wholesome. When they hang up the phone though, they're like, you know what, let's go out for one last hurrah. So we're like, well shit, something's gonna happen. We're all thinking, okay, someone's gonna hook up with a girl. But episode 9 starts, and both guys are waking up with like pain. So we're like, oh, what happened? They both got tattoos on their butts. Sandoval got a flaming A. It literally looks like bacon. And then Schwartz got a Bubba. The Bubba, okay, it's like kind of cuter because that's what he calls Katie. The flaming A, it looked so bad. Like, when I tell you it looks like bacon, like literally everyone said like it looks like it's an A made out of bacon. Super bad tattoo. Thank God Tom decided to get it removed, because yikes. On their way back from the trip, because they were driving back, they decide to stop at Sir, and the guys show the girls the tattoos. Katie thinks it's actually kind of cute. Ariana's like, yeah, no, absolutely not. So Ariana absolutely hates it. While they're having the conversation, Lala and James are actually out for lunch. You remember how we said they're keeping it casual? It's another date. It's like a very casual date. They both like repeat, okay, we're keeping things casual, but then James is like really pissed about Lala flirting with Jax. And it's like, you literally walked around with like scratches and bite marks from Lauren. You were getting mad at Lala for her reaction, and you are like, well, you know what, I can do that, but Lala cannot like flirt with Jax. And it's like, dude. One of Ariana's friends has this like little stand-up show called My Diary, where basically you find like a childhood diary and you like read a passage from that on stage. So Ariana does that, super cute, super fun. Tom doesn't really have a diary, so he's like, you know what, let's just like read old song lyrics. And then he decides to end his little like performance with like pulling down his pants and showing his tattoo, which like, you know what, you do you. Like, it's, yeah, you do you. After that show, Jax invites Lala out to drinks with him, Kristen, and Sheena. Sheena and Kristen visibly looked so uncomfortable because Lala and Jax were like super flirty, super touchy. They didn't really hear what was said between them, but we find out later on things that were said. I remember those two were so uncomfortable, and Lala and Jax acted like they weren't even there. We also have Jax, Tom, and Katie who go to Sandoval and Ariana's apartment, and they're basically talking about the joint birthday. Because Sandoval and Jax have birthdays like super close to each other, so they're like, you know what, let's do a Hawaii trip for our birthdays. And they're kind of like arguing on the guest list because Jax is friends with Kristen. Obviously, Kristen is Tom's ex, so Tom doesn't want her there. But Tom is friends with James, but Jax hates James. Jax doesn't want James there. So kind of like starts little problems, but that's where the episode ends. So episode number 10, we have Schwartz that goes to Lisa. They kind of talk a bit more about the sangria business, and he shows Lisa the ring. It's our first time really seeing the ring, and it's so pretty. Like, I already know Katie's gonna love it. Tom and Ariana go to the first treatment to remove the tattoo. So Ariana convinced him to remove it. Perfect. We love that because it would no, when I tell you it was bad, it was bad. Like, it was very, very bad. Brittany comes into Sir to see Jax. James sees her first, and he's like, oh my god, hi, how's it going? And then she actually finds out that Brittany's moving in with Jax. James, obviously, he goes to tell Lala about it. And Lala's like, I went out with Jax the other night. And she basically tells him everything. Jax, like, whispered in her ear, oh, can we just, like, fuck and not tell anyone? Dude, you literally have your girlfriend moving in with you. What are you doing? Literally, what are we doing? We also find out that Jax invited Lala to the Hawaii trip, so obviously that's not gonna go well. We have Tom who goes to Sandoval's apartment, and they kind of talk about the proposal. Schwartz doesn't really know what to do, but he's like, I want to do it. Like, I love Katie. I want to marry her. We don't know what the proposal is, but moving on. We have Tom's birthday dinner. The whole gang is there, obviously. Schwartz is like, you know what? I'm gonna propose, right? I'm gonna propose. He acts super, super nervous. And then when he's like going for it, another couple proposes. We're like, okay, well, shit, like Schwartz can't do it. But then Schwartz gets up, basically, like, I forget how it was done. I think he gets up, the guy from the other couple basically hands him the ring. Everyone is like very confused, and he gets on one knee, he proposes to Katie. I was tearing up because it was so wholesome. It was so cute. I loved it. It was just so perfect. It made me so happy, like seeing Katie finally get her ring. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. That's where the episode ends. Then episode 11 opens up with Stassi. We haven't heard from a while, but Stassi's texting Katie, and she's like, hey, congrats on the engagement. Katie's like, oh, well, you know, I guess thank you, but like, why are you texting me? Jax ends up having a birthday brunch, because like the night before it was Tom's night. Now it's like Jax's day. So Jax has his brunch, and he invites Kristen, because obviously he's friends with Kristen. Ariana is very uncomfortable. And then her and Sheena are having a conversation, and Sheena's like, well, why are you making such a big deal out of like being uncomfortable around Kristen? And it's like, Sheena didn't really seem like super understanding of how Ariana feels, which like, yes, Kristen is your friend, but also like, Ariana's your best friend. Like, you would have her back, like we would assume that. But Ariana's like, you know, I feel like you're a fake friend because why you act like this? So it kind of creates a bit of like tension between the girls. Max and James are having a talk at work, and Max basically tells James like, hey, the only reason why you're not invited to Hawaii is because like, yeah, Tom wanted you. Tom didn't want Kristen. Jax wanted Kristen. Jax didn't want you. So it was kind of like a compromise. But then they were like, you know what? Screw it. Just buy a ticket, come with us. But Max was like, love that idea, but how about we first try to like convince Jax to let us come? James talks to Jax. For some reason, Jax is like, yeah, you know what, you should come. So, I mean, good for him, good for him. Kristen goes to talk with Katie, and Kristen's like, hey, you know, I have been talking to Stassi a bit, and we were both super, super heartbroken that we weren't there when you got engaged. She's kind of like trying to get Katie to start talking with Stassi. We can kind of see that, you know, things are shifting in Katie's head. She's like starting to consider it a little bit more. But while that's happening, we have Lala, Faith, and Sheena who all go out bikini shopping for Hawaii. And Lala basically starts talking about James. So she's like, you know what? I love being around James. I love making out with him, but I don't really see myself sleeping with him. But she's also like, you know what? I love flirting with Jax. Like, I just love the energy that Jax has, but I don't necessarily like being around him. It's more like the energy, more the tension. Sheena doesn't really like shut anything down when like Jax literally has a girlfriend that he's moving in with. Sheena doesn't really shut it down, but she's like, you know, like, be careful because Brittany is very in the picture, but she also like, doesn't say like, don't go there. So we're like, Sheena, what are you doing? Brittany and Jax started to set up their apartment. And Brittany basically asked Jax, like, did you invite Lala to the trip? Jax is like, you know, I would never do that. It wasn't me, it was Sandoval. Brittany is like, okay, well, you know that Sheena did text me that Lala was like saying that it was like really hard not to sleep with you. And she's like, this is weird. Like, you need to talk to this girl before we go on this trip. It's like, I don't want to spend time around someone who thinks that like you're open. I don't know if that conversation happened, but Brittany's like, dude, like have this conversation because if not, like something's gonna go wrong. Something's definitely gonna go wrong. We also find out that Max had a little incident. So he was feeling like super lightheaded one day and he just like fell into a mirror, like broke a tooth. He needed surgery. So we do not really know if he's cleared for Hawaii. We will see. Tom and Kristen have a little chat and Kristen's like, why are you making it so hard for me to hang out with our friends? And Tom's like, I'm not bringing my ex-girlfriend to a trip with my girlfriend. And then Tom's like, you know, these are the consequences of your own actions. Like, you were a horrible person in the past. You did things. Basically, karma's a bitch, right? And then the episode ends with finding out Max was cleared for Hawaii. So the whole gang gets ready. And next episode, they're in Hawaii. Already you can tell it's gonna be an absolute mess, but I digress. So in Hawaii, obviously, all the couples are sharing a room, and then we have Lala and Faith in their own room, James and Max in their own room. We find out that Ariana's mom has been texting Sheena, and we know this because Ariana's mom sent Ariana screenshots, and basically in these screenshots, Sheena was kind of like talking about Tom, saying not the best things about him, and also saying like Ariana changed since dating Tom. So Ariana's like, well, this is odd because Sheena's my best friend, like what's going on? They didn't really think about it that much, but then it comes to dinner. Obviously, a Vanderpump Rules traveling dinner, something's gonna happen. So keep in mind, everyone's at this dinner table. Lala and James just start making out, and Jax is like pissed because he's like, oh, you know, like you should be more grateful that you're here because like some people who should be here weren't able to get here. Obviously, sets James off. Starts a little fight. They start screaming at each other. James leaves. Literally, what else is new on a Vanderpump trip? But they end up having a conversation after and they're like, hey, we're gonna be cordial because we're on the trip together. Let's be adults. Tom and Ariana approach Sheena after the dinner and they bring up the text and Sheena doesn't really apologize. She's like, well, get over it. It was a conversation I had with your mom. It was my personal feelings. It's not a big deal. And it's like, I thought Ariana was your best friend. Like, that's what was so weird about it because Sheena isn't really behaving like Ariana's her best friend. So Ariana, obviously, she's like not too happy about it. Her and Tom were like, whatever. Like, let's just go to bed. Whatever. So the next day we have Brittany, Jax, Schwartz, Sandoval, Ariana, Faith, and Lala, who all go on a little like hiking trip to a waterfall. Everyone is in a couple. It's kind of like inappropriate to just go like skinny dipping. But Lala and Faith were like, you know what, let's do that. Obviously, everyone's a little bit uncomfortable, but they're like, you know what, this is a time and place to do that, which is like, sure, I guess. While they're doing that, we have Sheena, Shay, and Katie who are having their own little beach day. And Sheena starts talking about Ariana, and she's like, I don't feel like we have that strong of a friendship anymore. Like, I really feel like, Katie, you're my best friend now. I don't know what's going on with this relationship. I don't know if we, like, missed something. But from what we've seen from Sheena, she just hasn't really been the best of friend for the past, like, few seasons to Ariana. I don't know what would happen in the future, but that's where we're at right now. Before dinner, James and Max have a conversation. And James is like, you know what? Tonight is the night I sleep with Lala. Okay, good for you, Max. My bad, James. Good for you, James. So they all go have dinner. Lala decides to pull Brittany and she basically comes clean about everything. She's like, hey, this is everything that Jax did. This is why I acted this way because these are the messages I got from Jax. And Brittany obviously only heard Jax's side. So she's like, okay, well, this is kind of weird because Jax was making it seem like you were the one who were constantly pursuing him when he told you that he had a girlfriend, but Lala's like, no, it wasn't like that at all. Brittany is obviously like kind of mad, kind of confused, so she talks to Jax about it. She brings up the night that he went out with Lala, Sheena, and Kristen, and Jax is basically like acting as if nothing happened. He's basically denying everything that Lala said. So Brittany calls Lala over. Lala's like, well, what are you doing? Like, this is actually what happened. Like, stop lying about it. She gets like very, very mad because he is making her look bad in front of everyone. So she's very mad. Jax keeps on denying everything. Sheena also comes over and she's like, hey, you know what? I honestly didn't hear anything that was said, but I saw things. And Jax just basically makes it look like Lala was lying the entire time. So Lala obviously very mad. She like leaves fuming, crying. That's where the episode ends. So episode 11 opens up on Lala in bed, absolutely bawling her eyes out. James, Max, and Faith come in, and then James is like, okay, well, I guess like it's a no-go for the planet stage, which like no shit. All three of them do end up cheering up Lala, so at least she had like a nice end to her night. While the gang is in Hawaii, Stassi goes to Katie's apartment. She basically opens up about Patchy. This is the first time we like really see what was going on with Stassi. So she's like, yeah, you know, we felt like we were roommates, so we broke up. We're not seeing each other anymore. We're not living together anymore. And we also find out about a bit about what happened to Stassi after Jax, because we didn't really see much of who she was dating. We find out she was actually dating someone else at SUR. I don't know if it was Frank because his name was never mentioned, but we know that it was someone from SUR. And basically this guy, he came into SUR demanding $900 from Lisa because he had, I wouldn't say a sex tape, not like a nude, but kind of like a video of like Stassi alone. So he was basically trying to blackmail, and he posted it like on sites. Basically it was sent everywhere, right? Goes to SUR, basically demands $900 to get the video down. Stassi like does not want to pay him because she's like, no, like screw you, like take the video down. She doesn't want to pay. Lisa's like, you know what, I'll pay for it. Stassi like never really thanked Lisa, so she has to like she doesn't want to apologize to Lisa about everything that happened in season 3, and she wants to thank her. At first we were like, I don't really understand where Stassi's coming from, but now we see why. Now her behavior makes so much sense. Obviously your friend going with that person on a trip, it breaks your heart, right? It would make me mad also, right? They continue talking about other things, and Stassi's like, you know what, I am gonna go to see Lisa, I am gonna apologize. We love that. Like we actually see some growth in Stassi compared to season 1. She was like one of the characters you actually see the most growth in. Honestly, loving that for her. It sucks she has to go through that experience, but loving the growth and how she's like, okay, I need to apologize to this person, I have to be better. Love that in her. Going back to Hawaii for a little bit, so Tom and Sheena have a conversation, and Sheena actually apologizes to Tom, and she's like, you know, I think that I might have been like projecting all my relationship problems with Shay onto you guys. So she apologizes, they move past that. Then going back to LA, we have Stassi and Kristen who are going out so Stassi can meet the guy who Kristen is seeing. So this guy is called Kevin, he's one of Jax's friends, and Stassi's like, I think he might be living with a girlfriend. They basically want to figure out, like, is it true, is it not? So Detective Stassi comes out. So when Kevin shows up, Kristen's like, you know what, I'll grab drinks, you guys can like start talking to each other. And Stassi asks, oh, like, are you seeing anyone? Are you living with a girlfriend? Because that's something that I heard. And Kevin's like, no, we broke up, like, we're not living together anymore. Keep that in mind for later. Going back to Hawaii, the whole gang is like getting ready to leave, right? Flight is like super soon, but there's no sign of Jax. So everyone's like, what's going on? Jackson calls Brittany. We find out Jax was arrested. He's being held for possibly up to 48 hours, and the bail is $11,000. So we're like, what the hell happened? Turns out he stole sunglasses. Just wait until we see like what exactly happened, because now we just know that he stole sunglasses. We don't know what was said. So he stole sunglasses. Everyone is like, what the hell? They're trying to find money, trying to figure out like how to get Jax back to LA. Turns out he made bail, everything was sorted out, and the whole gang is coming back to LA. Episode 14, the gang is back in LA. We find out what exactly happened. So he was like super drunk. He walked into a store. He was like, oh, I like these. I want these. I'm taking these. Walks out, and it's like, dude, are you literally like 5 years old? How does someone in their mid-30s behave like that? But he's also like, I'm honestly really disappointed in myself. What really hurt me the most was seeing Brittany's disappointment. There is a little bit of growth there. We like seeing that, but it's also like, why did you do that? Sheena and Katie go see Kristen when they get back. We find out a bit more about Kevin. Kevin is like living with Kristen now, and it's like they've only known each other for a week, but he's been like at her apartment for the entire time. Kristen also tells them that he told her that he loved her. Keep in mind, they've only known each other for a week. But then Kristen also brings up Stassi, and she's like, hey, Katie, like Stassi really wants to see you, really wants to talk with you. Katie's like, not interested. Absolutely no. Brittany gets a job at Hooters and basically just like be there for her. Jax, Tom, and Tom decides to go there on her first day. While they're having lunch, Jax gets a call from the police place in Hawaii. We don't really know what was said, but we know he gets his call. Kevin actually shows up. Kevin, like Kristen's Kevin. Kevin shows up. Brittany, obviously, she knows like all the tea about him. They start talking, and then Kevin basically admits to Brittany that he does live with his girlfriend. So we're like, okay, so we have another liar. That's great. Add him to the mix of guys who are complete liars. Stassi and Kristen get together, and Stassi tells Kristen that Jax actually has like a history of stealing a lot of things. Like he stole a bunch from her dad's ex-girlfriend. He stole a Miu Miu wallet for her. It doesn't surprise anyone he stole glasses. Also, Stassi mentions that she doesn't have a place to live now that she's not with Patrick anymore. And Kristen's like, you know what? We can be roomies. We can be roomies until you find yourself a new place. Jax gets a call from Lisa and she's like, hey, meet me at Villa Blanca. Jax goes there and Lisa is fuming. She's so mad. She's like, Jax, I don't know if I can even trust you to be around money. Yes, I know that you've stolen a few things here and there. It's getting to the point where it's very bad. Like, I cannot trust you. Should I even have you employed? She doesn't really know if she wants to like keep him on the team or not. So she's like, you know what? Suspend it for 2 weeks and we see, like, we're gonna see what goes on. So if the camera moved around a bit, I went to like plug it in because it was like dying and then I accidentally knocked things over. So that's why things might look a little bit different. Jax, Brittany, Kristen, and Kevin all go out for drinks. We find out that Kevin actually cheated on his girlfriend, and that's why he's not living with her right now. They're basically like still together trying to figure things out. So Kristen's like, well, that's not what you told me, so screw you and never want to see you again, goodbye. She even calls him worse than Jax, which is definitely saying something. The next day we have Stassi who goes sees Lisa at church to kind of like apologize about everything and thank her for dealing with the blackmailer. I mean, I guess a blackmailer, is that what you can call it? Just like dealing with the whole situation. Stassi starts off by apologizing and Lisa's like super cold. She doesn't accept it. She basically tells her like, I warned you. Well, at first like Stassi was super disrespectful the last time she was there, calls her rude, disrespectful, and then Lisa's also like, I warned you about this guy. That's why I fired him. So that's what really got me thinking, was this Frank or was it just like someone else? It was never confirmed, never denied, so we do not know. But it was someone who Lisa was like, you're a shitty guy, you're a sleazy guy, you're fired. And Lisa's like basically like giving Stassi shit, like just calling her out on her behavior. Stassi gets like very mad, very emotional, and she's like, you hate me, Lisa, and she like walks off. Lisa literally says, you're not important enough for me to hate, sit down. The way my ass would be glued to that chair if someone were to tell me that, I was literally mouth agape. Lisa really went for it. But they have a conversation. Stassi does apologize again, and they're like slowly starting to work on their like relationship. Stassi offers to pay her back, but like Lisa doesn't accept it. Even though Stassi's like super insistent, Lisa's like, no, like whatever, it's fine. And they kind of start like building back up. Obviously, it's not going to be the same because Stassi was like really, really like intense with Lisa. But I can see it like over time slowly getting better. Episode 15 opens up with Kristen going on a date with Jax's friend Alex. He's a yacht captain. So I don't know what's going on in his life, but from what we see, he does seem like a really decent guy and Kristen does look like really happy. So we're like, okay, hopefully we're having a healthy guy for her. Katie and Lisa end up having a conversation, and Katie, so she has her blog Pucker and Pout, right? And she wants to do this like party for engagement, just for like exposure and stuff like that. She invites Lisa, and then Lisa kind of brings up the conversation she had with Stassi, because they also talked about like her burning bridges, like wrecking her friendships at Sir. So she brings it up and Katie's like, I'm really not interested with anything having to do with Stassi, because I feel like if I do that, I'm kind of like regressing on my growth, which I do get that. I feel like there was a good friendship between these girls, and Stassi is different. Stassi is more mature, and like knowing the reason why everything like broke out, basically, I feel like I could see them becoming friends in the future. James is obviously not invited to the Pucker and Pal party, but he's talking with Max, and James is like, I actually do really miss Kristen. So they both decide, you know what, James should crash the party. Yeah, so that happens. At the party, basically everything is going smoothly, everything is great, but James comes in, sees Kristen, says something to her, starts an explosive fight. Are we even surprised? Then he ends up leaving, but besides that whole altercation, successful event, successful party, Katie looks so happy and I love that for her. So Stassi's really, really trying to become friends with Katie again. So she texts Schwartz, and Schwartz agrees to go out for drinks with her to kind of like talk about it. And Schwartz is like really standing up for Katie. He's like, Katie really doesn't want to talk to you because of this. But he sees that Stassi is showing some humility. She is taking accountability for her actions. She does genuinely seem so sorry. She does really miss Katie. So Schwartz is like, you know what? You are invited to the engagement party. And it's like, yes, cool, because Stassi is showing growth. But it's also like, don't you think Katie should, you know, have a say in the decision? Again, Schwartz, we love him. He's adorable. But sometimes he does not make the best decisions. In episode 16, Lala has a little party, and Stassi's invited, Sheena's invited, and like the whole gang's invited. So Stassi and Sheena actually have a little bit of a conversation, and Stassi's like, hey, you know, I really didn't appreciate when you were like sharing around this video. And we find out that like Sheena didn't share it around. Well, okay, she didn't like send it around. She was shown the video and she like talks about it with other people, but she didn't really show the video. So these girls continue talking, and we can see them kind of like rekindling things, kind of like we kind of have a friendship coming back again between these two. Also, remember how I said that Alex seemed like a cool, genuine guy? Yeah, him and Kristen aren't together anymore, so that was fast, but there's someone new, and this guy, I genuinely think he's the best thing for Kristen. Schwartz talks with Lisa, and even though they did agree that he wouldn't be getting paid, I think there was like some sort of financial compensation, but Schwartz is like, I'm too stressed, I can't do this, I'm pulling out. Katie obviously knew about it, and she's like, dude, get a job. Like, how do you want to get married? How do you want to like start a family and things like that when you're not bringing any money? So that's like the same thing that they had problems with like in the past. I don't know if they're actually gonna get married. I feel like it is a pretty big thing, and like Schwartz never really had any form of job. I don't know what's gonna happen. Please just get a job. Like for Katie, please get a job. You don't want your relationship to end because you don't have a job. Brittany, Jax, Tom, Katie, Tom, Ariana are at Sheena and Shay's. They're having a fun time, but then Brittany brings up wanting to get a boob job. And like they start talking about sizes, right? Jax is like, well, you know, I'm financing it, so I should have a say getting the size. Everyone is like, what? And then just Jax, like how he's talking, it's super immature. He's talking like a teenager. Very like disgusting how he is. The guy is even like talks to him about it, but he doesn't seem to see anything wrong. Brittany seems like such a sweet girl. She doesn't deserve someone who talks like this. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We only see like the worst parts that the producers like show us. You see a very like icky and gross side of Jax, and no one really liked it. But anyways, we end episode 16 with like Jax's immaturity. Episode 17, we find out James is actually working on a CD for Pump, and this is the CD I actually really want to listen to, just out of curiosity to see how his music is. Also, funny little thing, he calls himself the white Kanye West, which like, sure. Tom goes to get his tattooed laser off. We love that. Brittany gets her boob job. Love that for her. At first, like she wanted to go with like a certain size, and then she ended up going with a bigger size to make Jax happy. And it's like, I don't know what's gonna happen in this relationship, but if Jax does not change, I'm scared for what ends up happening to Brittany. Lisa's having a conversation with the manager at Pump. We find out that James, he's like starting verbal fights in work. Kristen came in at some point, even though she was banned. She ended up coming in. And James, for some reason, confessed his love for her. Started some huge fight, huge problems. He's also showing up to work drunk, which obviously isn't that good. So Lisa's like, you know what? He's done at Pump. He's not DJing anymore. Yeah, sure, we're gonna get the CD, but he's done. He's only busting at Sir 3 times a week. It's his like probation, basically. So Katie and Tom are having a little engagement photo shoot on the beach, and then they basically turn it into a beach day with like all of their friends. So James ends up bringing some random girl. We never see her again. Like, I don't even remember her name. Some random girl. Kristen decides to bring Rachel. The gang is having a great time. But then Ariana's like acting super, super pessimistic, just like not being fun to be around, and just like overall bringing down the mood. So Katie and Sheena are just like, they're very annoyed because they're like, okay, this is Katie's day, like be happy for Katie. She's like very grumpy, and it's like, I get it because Kristen's there, but it's also like, you were invited to this. Try to put your things aside for the people who are celebrating today. But yeah, they're both like, they both really feel it, and they're both like not super happy about it. After the beach thing in episode 18, the gang goes out for drinks. Sheena and Katie are kind of like talking about Ariana's mood. Tom is actually like trying to see both sides. He's kind of like, I wouldn't say defending Ariana, but he's like, you know, like she is around Kristen. Like obviously she's not gonna be like super, super comfortable. Tries defending her. Katie feels like he doesn't have her back, which is something that we did see a little bit in the past. Starts an explosive argument. So not really fun for them. But at least for Katie, Rachel, her parents have a house in like Palm Springs, I think. And she basically invited Kristen, Katie, and Sheena on a little like girls trip weekend. So Stassi was gonna be there, and Katie and Sheena knew that Stassi would like probably prepare like some speech, like just have something to say. So they were like, no, we're not gonna come. But then last minute decided, okay, like we're gonna go. Their whole thing was like, okay, last minute, like Stassi isn't gonna know, we're gonna surprise them. Stassi can't really prepare anything. Obviously at first it's like a little bit awkward. The girls talk, and you can see Katie and Stassi rekindling things. You can truly see how much these girls miss each other, and actually makes me really happy that Stassi's coming back in her life. They had problems, but they were really good friends, and it's a nice thing that Stassi is going to be a part of like Katie's wedding. That's pretty much all that we have for episode 18. It was like a super, super fast episode. Episode 19, the girls are back from the trip, and Katie goes to Lisa to basically ask, hey, can we use your house for the engagement party? Lisa, obviously, she's like, I do not know. But then at the end, she's like, okay, sure, as long as Kristen and Stassi are not there. Do we actually think that these girls, after being told no, are not going to show up? No, they decide to show up and chaos ensues. But anyways, that's for episode 20. We're not there yet. So Kristen and James go out for dinner for some reason, and James tells her that he's sober. And honestly, love that for James. Kristen, for some reason, she brings up like, oh, you know, let's go back to like the party with Jenna. Did you sleep with Jenna? James, he's on a road to becoming better, so he admits that he did. And obviously Kristen is pissed. It's not an explosive fight, but it starts a little bit something. Obviously tensions are not really the best between those two, but he says that he still loves her. I'm honestly so happy they did not get back together. They both deserve someone who can like keep them calm and grounded and healthy. Jax, he's not suspended anymore. So he comes, talks to Lisa, and he's like, hey, can I have Saturday night off? Because I do need to be in court in Hawaii on Sunday morning. Lisa's like, okay, do we know what are the possible outcomes of this hearing? Jax is like, I do not know, but I've learned my lesson. I'm a changed person. Like, this was me going too far. I recognize I need to change. So we're like, okay, possible growth for Jax. So Kristen is seeing this new guy called Carter, and I think Carter is actually the perfect person for her. But Carter basically invites her, Katie, Tom, Sheena, Shay, and Stassi to this like turtle race. It's exactly what you're picturing, a little turtle race outside a bar. At first it's a little weird, but the gang actually does have a lot of fun. And Katie tells Kristen and Stassi, hey, I talked with Lisa, like she really doesn't want you guys to come. Obviously the girls aren't super pleased about the news, but through the conversation Katie's having with Stassi, she's like, I do see growth in Stassi. I see her becoming better. So you can tell that these girls are definitely getting to a better place. Brittany and Jax go out to dinner, and the conversation goes towards Katie's engagement party. Jax basically tells Brittany that he was never like interested in marriage and like that type of thing. And I don't know if Jax basically promised her something before or not, but Brittany was like so sure that it was going there. I don't know if it was just like her in her head or if Jax actually said something. But this poor girl, she's actually so sad. She starts breaking down crying. I genuinely feel so bad for her because she deserves so much better than Jax. The next day, we have Kristen and Stassi who are going apartment hunting. Stassi finds her perfect place. And then the girls start kind of talking about the engagement party. Obviously, they're both not invited, but they're like, we care about Katie. Like, we're her friends. We care about Tom. We're gonna crash it. And the episode ends with Jax flying to Hawaii, and while he's flying, he really just like reflects on everything that he's done for the past few years, and he realizes it was a really bad decision moving in with Brittany because he feels like he's in jail in his own home. And that's where episode 19 ends. So it's like, what exactly is gonna happen between them? Who knows? But let's move on to episode 20. So Jax had that whole realization on his way to Hawaii. On his way back, he wasn't able to sleep, so he's been up for like 24 hours. When he lands, he gets like super pissed at Brittany because the place, it's not even that messy, but the place was like a little bit messy. He starts like complaining about needing a new apartment, needing a bigger apartment. He's like, well, you know, it was your job to find us a bigger apartment. He's just being an overall asshole. He's telling Brittany that he's spending too much time with her. He can't get away with her. He feels like she's like everywhere. He just has no freedom. And he feels like he's not getting anything from the relationship. Yes, I get it. You have not slept for 24 hours, but like there was no reason for you to say that and be like so angry at your girlfriend when she was literally worried about you because you could have been literally like incarcerated in Hawaii. Did you not think of that? But nothing ended up happening. He got the charges dropped, nothing on his criminal record. But it's like, don't be an asshole to your girlfriend. Like, come on. We finally made it to the engagement party. So, Stassi and Kristen, obviously, they crashed the party. James, he decides to bring Lisa his, like, little completed CD. And Tom and Ariana are actually just feel, like, super isolated. Like, no one really talking to them. They don't really try to talk to anyone. They just kind of, like, isolated themselves in, like, the crowd of people. We have Kristen, who wants to give a speech because she's, like, good friends with Katie. Lala and James are kind of getting, like, tired about it, getting annoyed. And Lala's like, can we wrap this up? And it's things like that make it hard for you to feel bad for Lala because she's not really a good person. Like, there was no reason for her to say that. Like, yes, she might not like Kristen, but it's like, you were invited to Katie's engagement party. Her friend is giving a speech. You don't do that. Anyways, Lala thought that was a great idea. Sheena and Ariana have a conversation. And Ariana's like, you know, I feel like I just don't feel appreciated in this friendship. I feel like you want to be popular so bad. You are putting all this energy into other people, having them, like, just making them like you. And I feel like it's taking time out of your relationship with me. And I feel like we kind of, like, drifted apart. So they have a conversation. They actually, like, bond. They become stronger. We love that. We absolutely love that. Going back to Lala and James, Kristen literally calls him a walking STD because they're, like, super touchy-feely, just, like, kind of acting a little bit inappropriately. Lala obviously does not like that. And it ends with her and Kristen in a physical fight. I'm like, can we stop with these physical fights? Can we please walk away? Can we stop fighting at people's engagements, weddings? No. Birthdays? No. Let's stop. Please, let's have control over our emotions. Lisa sees James, and James obviously does not look sober, so Lisa asks him, oh, are you drunk? James is like, no, I'm not drunk, but I did smoke. Yeah, sure, he's not drunk, but he's high. Obviously, we know something's gonna happen. Christina, I don't have her on the board, but Christina is like near the conversation. She becomes a part of the conversation, and she calls James out because James is like, you know, I'm sober, I'm not doing anything. And she's like, well, you know, you're basically lying about everything. James is like, shut up. Knight in shining armor Jax. He comes and he's like, oh, you can't talk to women that way. Starts another physical fight, as if Kristen and Lala was not enough. We have another physical fight. You have Stassi, freaking Stassi, poor Stassi, Stassi, Peter, and someone else who try to break them apart. Can we please stop fighting at people's important days? Oh my god, it's not that hard. James and Lala decide to leave after that, which probably best idea you guys had this entire day. And then we actually end the episode with a conversation between Jax and Stassi. You can tell that there's so much growth in Stassi because of this conversation. Jax says he was actually heartbroken when they break up, and Stassi was like, yes, but also you did cheat, right? It was actually a very civil conversation, very productive conversation, and it ends amicably. The amount of takes I had to take to say amicably, oh my god, it took me literally 7 takes to get that word out of my mouth. But yes, it ends amicably between them two, with Stassi saying, hey, please be careful with Brittany. I can tell you really love her. She really likes you. Do not mess it up. And that's where season 4 ends. We have some very messy people. We have some people who showed growth. We love that. Gonna take a little break, gonna grab some water, then we're gonna come back for season 5 because the drama's not done here. Okay, we're back and better than ever for season 5. Oh wow, these people are yellow. Let me just like fix the tape because it's not very pretty. So just as a little rundown of things that are different, Tom now has a man bun with highlights. Don't know how I feel about that, but you know, if Tom's happy, that's all that matters. Schwartz and Katie have a new puppy called Butter, who's absolutely adorable. So now we have Gordo, we have Butter. Love them, super cute. Stassi, Katie, Kristen, and Sheena are all besties right now. That is a little bit different. Then also Brittany is now working at SUR. And Jax doesn't really know how to feel about it because he's like, I feel like I'm always with her. I don't have an escape from her because work used to be his escape from her, but now he doesn't have that. When he said that, I was like, what is going to happen in season 5? Then obviously it's Vanderpump Rules. So we're starting this season with a rumor. This season's rumor is that Jax said one night he came home to his and Brittany's apartment at like 3 a.m. He sees like Kristen and Katie, no, not Katie, Kristen and Britt just like making out on his bed, doing a little bit more than just making out. We do not know the specifics, but apparently Jax saw that and obviously goes around SUR. That is rumor of season 5. We have an OK Magazine party, and at a table we have Tom, Katie, Sheena, Jax, Stassi, and Kristen. They're all vibing, doing their own thing. Then suddenly Lala and James come over. They kind of get into little fights because no one wants them there. They're being rude to the group. Fight breaks off, and then at the end, Lala and James leave. Jax would have wanted to like do a little more, but he's still on probation because we remember his whole like little incident. He's still on probation, so he's like can't really get into any altercations. They leave the table. Then we have Tom and Ariana who come and they sit with James and Lala. We kind of like see a bit more into James and Lala. So James basically, where is he? James really opens up about how his alcoholism is like really due to his parents splitting up. And we also find out Lala's dating a married man. Yes. And episode 1 ends with Katie and Lisa having a little conversation, and Katie's basically gonna become Lisa's assistant as a little side job to get some more money to plan for the wedding. So love that for them. Episode 2. So James said a few rude things at the party. So he talks to Sheena at work. He's like, hey, I'm sorry, I apologize. That was kind of mean. It was like out of line. Sheena accepts the apology. And we have Lala who goes to lunch with her mom. And we find out that alcoholism does run in her family. So she talks to her mom a little bit about that. And her mom's like, hey, you know, like we should be careful because like this obviously is in the family. Maybe let's try to limit ourselves to 2 drinks a day. Lala agrees. So that's her rule from now on, 2 drinks per day. The Brittany and Kristen rumor is going around SUR. And we actually have Kristen. Oh my god, I don't have a picture of Carter. I literally print out a picture of everyone besides Carter. Okay, let me just like write his name because like he does pop up a lot this season. This is probably the best you guys are gonna get. I apologize. Don't feel like pausing to go print out Carter. So Carter. Kristen and Carter go out to dinner and they kind of talk about what happened. Kristen said that she was really drunk. She doesn't really remember if she went down on Brittany, but like they did make out, but she was still like really drunk. She's not like exactly sure 100% what happened. But Carter's like, no, I was there. Like I saw nothing happen. So we're like, okay, why is Jax starting shit again? But it's Jax, so like, are we surprised at this point? It's like 5 years in, 5 seasons in. We all know who Jax Taylor is. Brittany, obviously, she's pissed off that Jax is going around telling people that. So she confronts him at work. Jax basically tells her, like, get over it. We're like, dude, this is literally your girlfriend. Right? But he's like, get over it. Brittany's like, well, what, like, what is this? What is this? They have a little fight. Then Jax does end up apologizing, but Britt's like, I don't really know if it's genuine. Lisa sees that Brittany's actually really not doing okay. So she pulls Brittany, they talk, and Brittany says nothing happened. So we do not know what exactly happened, but Brittany's like, nothing happened, so we're gonna go off with the assumption that nothing happened. Katie and Tom do a little bit of wedding planning. They find a venue that they really like. They haven't visited yet, but they found a venue that's like very them, so we love that. And they also agreed to do a prenup. You know, I think it is smart for Katie to do a prenup because of Tom, but it's also like, there's not that much money in the first place. I don't know. That was a little something that like popped into my head when I was like watching the episode. Kristen, Carter, Jax, Brittany, and Sheena all go to Stassi's and they talk about what happened. Kristen is like, dude, stop lying. Like, stop spreading rumors. Nothing happened. Like, what are you doing? And then Jax is like, well, why would I spread something like this? Why would I invent something like this? At the end, he does apologize, but he's also like, Kristen, this is literally none of your business. Like, you shouldn't be talking about my relationship. It's none of your business. But it's also like, you did bring Kristen into it. I feel so naked without a necklace, so give me a second. I'll be back for episode 3 because I see myself in my viewfinder and I'm like, this feels weird. This feels weird. Okay, much better. Episode 3. Katie has a little lunch with all of the girls and she asks them to be her bridesmaids, so it was super, super cute. While that's going on, Lisa and James have a little talk. And Lisa brings up another altercation that James had at Pump. Basically, it was this big fight and Lisa's like pissed off because she's like, I gave you so many chances. I'm telling you, like, you have to stop fighting. Like, this is my business. You're like disturbing my business. You can't be fighting all the time. But then at the end, Lisa's like, you know what? It wasn't exactly your fault. Like, you didn't initiate it. This is your final chance. There's no more chances after this. If something else happens, you are fired and like you're not getting your job back. So Katie has her bridesmaids, right? Schwartz organized a little something to ask the guys to be his groomsmen. Schwartz went out on a little run. Obviously, he's like gross and sweaty. He takes the steaks that he's preparing for Jax and Tom, kind of like rubs them in like sweaty bits down below. A little bit nasty, right? And he decides to take a picture. It's so funny. He just like bent over with like the steak on his ass, right? He just takes a picture and invites the guys over, asks them to be his groomsmen, obviously. And the thing is that when Schwartz first met the guys, they were kind of like hazing him. So Schwartz is like, you know, this is my time to clap back. He shows them pictures of the steaks. It's a really funny moment. But we have Tom and Jax, who are officially Schwartz's groomsmen. I was about to say bridesmaid. His groomsmen, so cute. Love that for Schwartz. Katie and Lala have a conversation at Sir. Basically, Lala was like making comments about Tom. She was just like, oh, like, I'd love to like sleep with him, and just like other weird comments, like I want to be naked around him, stuff like that. So Katie obviously like not super happy about it. They kind of have a fight about it. But in the end, Lala does try to apologize for her behavior, but Katie's not having it. Katie also brings up Lala dating a married man. Obviously, not the best vibes, and Katie ends up like leaving the conversation because she's like, we're not doing this. Katie has a little party, and at this party we have Stassi and Brittany who talk, and Stassi's actually really going through a tough time with Patrick. Like, obviously they're broken up. She's very heartbroken. She really misses him, and Brittany's like, hey, you literally need anything at all, call me. I'm always there for you. I got you. So we love that. We love a supportive friend, Brittany. On the other hand, Katie, Kristen, and Stassi who talk, and they don't really like how Sheena is like trying to be cordial with Lala, trying to be Lala's friends, because there's like, we all hate Lala. Lala's doing these like weird things with like Schwartz. So we hate Lala. Why don't you hate Lala? And that's where the episode ends. Episode 4. So we do have a new character, and her name is Raquel. She's actually James's girlfriend. They met while he was DJing and Pump, and Raquel is actually still in university. So they're doing long distance until she graduates. Brittany and Sheena are talking at Sir, and Lala comes up to say hi. Brittany obviously is going to be nice with her, but Sheena kind of like ignores Lala So she's like, you know, I thought we were friends because we were like pretty good before. Like, what's going on? What happened? And then Sheena's like, I don't feel comfortable interacting with you because how you are with Katie. Lala's like, dude, like, it's literally nothing. Like, just be a grown up. But Sheena's like, no, Katie's my friend. If she's uncomfortable, I'm not gonna talk with you. We see Schwartz going to therapy in this episode, and we love that for Schwartz. The therapist obviously is asking him questions about Katie, and he's like, you know, Katie does these like pretty bad things that I don't necessarily agree with, and she always wants me to back her up. She always wants me to like defend her. Obviously, I love Katie, I want to have her back, but I don't necessarily agree with her. And he opens up that he's like, I don't know how to tell her how I feel about it. So obviously it goes back and forth with the therapist, and the therapist is like, do you like actually see yourself marrying Katie? Tom's like, yes. So far, episode 4, wedding to go. We have another, I'm gonna put both of these girls up at the same time because they kind of like go hand in hand, but we have 2 new characters. We have Gigi, who works at Villa Blanca, and then we have Ellie, who works at Pump. So Jax and Brittany are talking at Sir, and the topic of Gigi pops up. Why is Gigi an important character? Lisa needed Gigi at the restaurant, so, you know, she took a little shift at Sir. And Gigi's like, she's talking with Jax and Brittany. She's like, I feel very uncomfortable being here when James is here because we did hook up, like we did sleep together. And we find out that she hooked up with him back in April. Do you want to know when James and Raquel started dating? Around New Year's. And Gigi's like, I literally only found out like after it happened because I started working here in February. I obviously didn't know things. And it's like, yeah, I feel bad for her because like she did not know. And how she's saying James was like talking with her and stuff like that, we're like, obviously when Gigi finds out that James does have a girlfriend, she calls him out on it, and James just starts like calling her names, being super rude, super like mean and condescending to her. But also like we've seen James Kennedy's past, like we know how James Kennedy can act sometimes. So Lala overhears a conversation that's going on. So she walks up to James and she's like, hey, did this happen? Jax overhears them talking about it. So Jax goes up to them. It basically starts this huge argument. James is like, she's lying, nothing happened. Like, obviously Jax is involved, James is involved. Starts like an almost physical fight, but Diana, she's like, hey, let's calm down, let's sit our asses down, we're at work, be freaking adults, and like just do your job. Like, how hard is it for you to just do your job? Okay, so this one up here, this is Ellie, and then over here we have Gigi. Lisa has absolutely perfect timing. So Lisa comes in and Diana's telling her what's going on. Lisa's like, you know what, send James over. So obviously we know things aren't gonna go very well. Basically James is like defending himself to Lisa, and he's like, Lisa, I feel like you never believe me. He doesn't really start calling Lisa names, but he does get like very pissed off at her that she never believes him. And Lisa's like, don't disrespect me anymore, don't call me names, I'm your boss. If you cannot be an adult, if you can't get your shit together, you're out. So like this is really like, obviously he had his like final chance before, but Lisa's like, this is literally your final chance, don't mess it up because like you're out, and I'm not even second glancing. Does that make sense? I'm not even like looking at you again. Like, you're out, you're done, goodbye. Schwartz goes over to Sir, and obviously for his groomsmen, Tom and Jax, he did a little ass steak. So he does the same for Ariana, and he asked her to be his, well, like one of his groomsmen, because she wasn't asked to be a bridesmaid. So he's like, you know what, like you're a huge part of our life, I want you to be a groomsman. Ariana accepts. Schwartz is like, you have to eat the ass steak. Ariana's like, that's disgusting, but like, cause it's you, Schwartz, yeah, I will. James goes to see Sandoval and he asks him for a shot. Tom at first, he's like iffy, he's like, I don't know, you know, like should you be drinking? But in the end, he does cave, he gives James a shot. Lisa sees and she's like, you're the bartender, like I know he's your friend, I know you like you don't want to make him mad, but it's like you have to put your foot down. Like James should not be drinking, you shouldn't be giving him alcohol. Ken finds out what happened and how James was acting towards Lisa. Ken is really not happy. Ken was always a super calm person. You see Ken literally going off at James, going off, losing his shit, basically being so mad at him for disrespecting Lisa, as he should, but it's like we see a whole other side of Ken because of James. James then goes to Lisa to apologize, and Lisa's like, you've turned into a drunken asshole, like you have to get your drinking under control, and she fires him from Pump and Stir. James Kennedy finally got fired. I love Lisa, I trust that she knows how to run a business, But I feel like sometimes like she gives people too many chances, and it's like your life would be so much easier if you just like fired literally all of them. But yeah, James like completely breaks down because he's like, I don't know how to control my drinking. And Lisa's like, if you're gonna take any piece of advice from tonight, is you should never touch a drink again in your life. Honestly, Lisa, I think great advice. Is James gonna listen? We shall see. Episode 5. So in episode 5, Tom and Katie go to look at the wedding venue. Katie loves it. Super pretty, just like outdoorsy, woodsy. Think of like Twilight wedding, right? That's the type of vibes. So they ask for the price. The person over there says it's $24K. So Tom, throughout the time, he's always making like little snide comments, annoying Katie because it's like one comment, okay, but it's like over and over again about like money. Katie gets like very, very annoyed. You know, I get where Tom's coming from because it's expensive, but it's also like he was expecting it to be like a 10 to 15K wedding. I mean, like at least that for like the venue, and it's like, no. If you have to discuss this, if you're having problems, do it in private, away from the like people over there, you know, just to make everyone like feel comfortable. Tom and Ariana go to the gym and James joins them. So they find out that he got fired. You know, they obviously start talking about Gigi because like she was the reason, like she wasn't the reason he got fired, but it's like the whole altercation with her kind of like started one thing that led to another, like, you know, cascaded into him getting fired. So they talk about that and James is like, I never did it. I never slept with Gigi. So Lala's going on a hike with Ellie and then another server from Villa Blanca. And Ellie brings up that James got fired. So Lala's like surprised because, you know, they're friends. He never mentioned it. So she's a little like shocked that it happened. But Lala does bring up the whole like rumors or altercations with Gigi. And then we find out from Ellie also slept with James. And she's like, I knew he was gonna lie about it, so I took a picture. You can see the date. It's his bed. It's his, like, we don't see his face, but it's like in bed, you see his back. She has a picture. She has proof. I think it was in March or something, so even before Gigi. So obviously not looking very good for Mr. James Kennedy. The whole gang is going down, and we basically have 2 tables. So the groomsmen table and then the bridesmaid table. So at the groomsmen table, we have Shay, Tom, Jax, Tom, and Ariana. And then the bridesmaids table, we have Kristen, Stassi, Brittany, Katie, Sheena, and Carter. So Jax, obviously, we know he doesn't like James. So Jax brings up the whole thing with James and Gigi at work, and Tom is defending him. So kind of like starts a fight between the guys, and then Tom actually tells him that James did get fired. Jax actually goes over to the girls' table plus Carter and tells them the girls are actually like really happy because they're like, we don't like James, we didn't want him around. They're kind of celebrating him having gotten fired. So Sheena finds out there's not only like a rumor going around that James slept with Gigi, there's also something going around that he slept with Ellie. So Sheena's like, you know what, I'm gonna put my detective hat on, I'm gonna investigate myself. So Sheena goes to lunch with Ellie and they chat. So James actually did tell Ellie that he was dating someone, but she was like, by the way he was saying it, I thought it was a joke. And then throughout them like actually doing it, James was like, just so you know, this means nothing, right? So Ellie obviously she has this like intuitive thing. She's like, let me get a picture because I know he's gonna say something. Sheena's like, well. Sheena then goes to see Stassi and Kristen. Obviously tells them absolutely everything that Ellie told her. And they also talk about Lala's boyfriend. Sheena said like the guy's wife found out because he was going because she was going through her husband's phone and she found a little video. I'm sure you know what I mean. A little video on the phone. Lala goes to James's apartment and she asks him about everything going on with Gigi. She's like, hey, did you sleep with Gigi? Is it a lie? Like, what's going on? James denies it and he's getting like a little bit heated, a little bit like annoyed. So he asks Lala about her boyfriend. Obviously, Lala doesn't like talking about it, kind of starts to fight with them. And that's where the episode closes off. So episode 6. Episode 6 is kind of like a quick one. There's not like much to talk about. So Ariana's making a cocktail book. And obviously Tom came with her to kind of like do the photo shoot, do the promo shoot, everything. But Tom's being like very imposing. He's like always giving her say, kind of like undermining her or just like making comments. Obviously, it's Ariana's moment. She's not like super happy about it, doesn't really appreciate it. Like, it's not a fight, but she's like very clearly annoyed at Tom. After that, Ariana, Tom, and Lala go out to lunch, and Ariana invites Lala to her birthday, but they also start talking about the cocktail book. Tom apologizes. He's like, hey, it was your moment. I'm so sorry that I took it away from you. So they work through that, and Lala gets the invite, so that's good, that's nice. I love how Lala's getting like more included. But just wait. So I don't know if you guys remember this, when I was watching the episode, I vaguely remembered some of that because I was like pretty young at the time, but there was a shooting at Paul's nightclub in Orlando. It was like very targeted towards like the LGBTQ community, the community, not the committee. But yeah, it was a very like targeted attack, and from what I got from the episode, it happened either the day before the parade in LA or just like super close to it. Lisa was gonna be like, I don't know if she was gonna be honored, but like she was gonna be on like the British float, you know? So it was a very special year for Lisa. Everyone was like, what do we do? Because there was this attack in like Orlando. Are we safe? Do we want to do this? Like Lisa's like very, very like torn, but then in the end she's like, you know what, like I want to be here to support the community. I want them to see me like, you know, putting my foot forward and being like, yeah, you can do all that, but like that's not gonna stop us. So Lisa, honestly, like props to her. Forget about them. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to the parade. Everyone is like very like scared to go to SUR because obviously Lisa has the parties every single year, like her pride parties. Obviously people know about it. Will we be targeted or not? So everyone is kind of like iffy if they want to go or not, but then they see Lisa getting on the float and they're like, you know what, if Lisa's doing it, we can do it too. Diana and Peter actually talk at work and they're like, what do we do? Like to make sure everyone feels safe. They hire extra security. In the end, nothing happens. Everyone has a great time. Pride was super fun, a success. Lisa had a great time. Everyone had a great time. They actually tell Lisa, like, you actually like really motivated us. So that was like super nice to see Lisa being able to like do that for the gang. And yeah, that's pretty much all that happened because it was like such a big thing that it took so much time in the episode for them to like decide what exactly are we doing. So that basically wraps up episode 6. So episode 7, Stassi decided to start a podcast and she's like, you know what, Jack, since we did date and since my whole podcast is on like relationships and stuff like that, do you want to be on it? Jax agrees. So we're kind of like what's gonna be talked about. Ariana and Sheena are talking at work and Ariana's like, hey, you know, I think you should really apologize to Lala because like what you were saying wasn't like super nice. And Sheena's like, you know, I did talk with like Lisa about it and I'm not like ready to apologize, but like I'm thinking about it and stuff like that. Lala actually joins the conversation, but Sheena's like, I don't feel like ready at this point in time to have this conversation. They kind of talk about other things. Ariana actually brings up Lala's boyfriend and Lala's like, oh, you know, I was like saying these things about like the married man to kind of like cover up who my actual boyfriend is. So Sheena does kind of feel bad. She ends up apologizing and the girls end on like a very just like neutral, like not necessarily good, but just like, we're okay. We're good. We're neutral notes. Sheena the next day goes to Jax and Brittany's and she's talking with Brittany and she's like, you know, Katie was like texting me a lot of angry texts and she feels like I can't have an opinion because if I try to like be cordial to Lala because we literally work together, these girls are gonna start freaking out. Sheena, I wouldn't say she's like rethinking her friendship with Katie, Kristen, and Stassi, but she's like picking up on, I don't know if I can do what I want to do, say what I want to say, because these girls will always have a problem with me. We love Katie, but she does have a tendency to rage text, be like very mean and aggressive over text. So obviously Sheena like did not feel like super great when she got those texts from Katie. Katie goes see a wedding planner, well like not go see but like have a phone call with her and they're talking about things. The budget is going to be like $50K. Tom is like really not okay with that. So they decide to end the call because they're like, you know, we don't want to bring her into it, like we don't want to cause a scene in front of her. Stassi goes to see Jax film the first episode of the podcast and she basically brings up him cheating, stuff like that. They also agreed to do a little sociopathy test to see if he's a sociopath. Turns out he is, which do that information which you will. The whole gang decides to do a little surprise party for Carter and for Shay. And basically what they decided to do is like, they were gonna tell Carter that it's the surprise party for Shay to get Carter to like go in with Shay. And then they were telling Shay that it was a surprise party for Carter to get him to go in together, kind of like surprise both of them. So it was like super cute. They basically rented like this house with a pool. So it was a pool party. Super fun time. Shay actually gets to talking to Schwartz at this party and Schwartz is like really like not sure about the money. Shay's kind of giving him like a pep talk, being like, hey, weddings are expensive, but it's like gonna make Katie happy. Like in the end, it's worth it. So they talk a bit about that. Sheena and Stassi are having a conversation and Stassi's like very annoyed that Sheena's trying to be friends with Lala. So Sheena's like, I'm not having this conversation. I'm like really annoyed. She calls Ariana over to like talk about what they were talking about at SUR and it starts a big fight. Stassi ends up leaving. Next you see her in like a bathroom. She's crying, bawling her eyes out. Katie sees, so goes over, kind of like sees what's going on, tries to make her feel better. Sheena sees this, so she goes over them, tries to fix things, but it starts an explosive fight. And Sheena's like, Katie, you're acting like Tequila Kate again. Like, stop it, grow up. And that's where episode 7 ends. Katie's mom and grandmother are in town and they're helping her with the invites, and then Kristen and Stassi go over. So they kind of start talking about Stassi's birthday in the Hamptons. She has these like 2 friends who are renting a house like over the weekend in the Hamptons, and they're like, you know, since it's your birthday, come over, we'll introduce you to our friends. Like, it's gonna be a good time. So their whole debate is like, after what happened at the pool party, do we want to invite Sheena? Then on the other hand, Sheena and Shay are talking back in their apartment. And Shay's like, don't like apologize to these girls. Don't reach out. You did nothing wrong. Withdraw yourself. Let them miss you. Let them show you that they want you there. Like, let them try to be your friend, because like you're the one who's always trying, one who's always putting it in effort. Make them realize how much they miss you, basically. So remember how I said that where Katie was gonna be like a little assistant to Lisa? So Lisa bought a new car. Katie's going to pick it up, then drop it off at Lisa's. So Katie also takes this opportunity to hand Lisa a wedding invite. And they kind of start talking about like the girls and everything that happened. Katie really wants to know what Lisa thinks, like what's her opinion. Lisa's like, honestly, the problem, it's Stassi, and it's always been Stassi. Katie obviously knows what she wants to hear, but she's like, she's thinking about it because she does respect Lisa. Then do we remember how back in, I think it was season 2, Jax was taking like supplements and it was very clearly like not good for him. He was having like problems. He completely messed up his hormone levels, so he needs surgery to remove things. So that's amazing. Is he gonna learn his lesson? Who knows? Probably not. Odds are probably not. James and Raquel go out to lunch, and James opens up about like really missing his job at Pump, and he's like, you know what, I'm literally gonna beg Lisa, ask her over and over and over again until I get my job back. And if she says no, I'm just gonna go over and over again until she says yes. Personally, I think that would piss off Lisa very fast. But you know what, James? Honestly, love the motivation, love the ambition. Sandoval goes to see Jax post-surgery. It turns out Jax cannot drink for like a week post-op. Is he gonna respect it? Who knows? But basically, as a joke, Sandoval brings like a Hooters top, brings him a bra. A very funny moment. Sheena goes to get her nails done with her mom, and they talk about like all the problems that she's having with the girls. And Sheena's mom asks, like, do you think that because of these problems, like Katie would drop you as a bridesmaid? Sheena's like, I really don't know. She hasn't said anything, but like, I honestly do not know. So her mom is like, you know what? Go to the Hamptons, even if you might feel like a little bit uncomfortable first. Go to the Hamptons, like try to fix things with these girls, because like you and Katie, you guys are good friends. Like it would be a shame that like Stassi being back in her life kind of like interferes with this friendship. So Sheena's like, you know what, gonna suck it up, gonna go to the Hamptons, gonna have a great weekend. James goes to Pump, and he's basically getting like annoyed at Lisa because first he asked for his job back, Lisa says no. He's like, oh, you know, like you never fired James when, no, my bad. You never fired Jax when Jax is being like super rude, super disrespectful and everything. He obviously doesn't care about anything. And Lisa's like, yeah, well, Jax was never like disrespectful to me. So James is like, no, that's not true. And basically he's like calling Lisa a liar. Lisa obviously really does not appreciate that. Is like getting mad at him, right? So starts a little altercation. James ends up leaving because he's like, you know what? Not today. I'm gonna get my job back, but I know it's not today. Then we have the little birthday trips. Ariana, Tom, Jax, Brittany, Schwartz, and Ariana's brother, what's his name? Jeremy, all are supposed to go to Sonoma to watch a NASCAR race. So they all get to the airport. Lala's supposed to join, but like they're texting her and everything, no answer. So they board the plane. They're like, you know what? It's her loss. Episode 9. The gang lands at the airport. It's a text from Lala, and she's just like, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't make it. Obviously, Ariana's like annoyed because she's like, you know, Tom and I did pay for your ticket. You know, have at least like some respect. But they're like, whatever, you know, we're here. We're gonna have an amazing weekend. We also find out Tom rents them an RV. So it's like, you know, thinking of all these people living in an RV, I'm like, good luck. Good luck. So while they're in Sonoma, we have the girls, Kristen, Sheena, Katie, and Stassi. No, Sheena and Stassi, who all go to Montauk for a little girls trip. Ariana like can't stop thinking about like Lala missing the trip. So she actually calls Lisa, and Lisa's like, oh, that's weird that she's not there because she literally begged me for a time off. But Lisa's like, you know what? Like, she's not there, it's her loss. Like, this is your birthday trip, have fun. Don't think about it. While the gang is out of town, James goes to talk to his friend Arthur. Really talk about James like drinking, and James like, you know what, I really stopped drinking. I have my other vices. Whenever I want to drink, I go for ice cream. Arthur's like really trying to get him to the root of his drinking, so they talk about his parents' split and how hard it's been on him. And Arthur actually owns his little like, I don't know if it's like a hotel bar, but he owns this little thing, so he offers James a job on the one condition that like James does not touch alcohol, 100% sober. James is like, yeah, I'm sober. not a problem. So we love that for James. James got a job working with his friend, so that's honestly amazing. James goes to Sir after to talk to Max to tell him the good news. He actually runs into Lisa. So Lisa obviously knows that James and Lala are friends, so she asks him like, hey, have you heard from Lala recently? So James, obviously, he thinks that Lala went with them, so he's like very confused because he's like, you know, Lala was texting me that she was like super excited to go and stuff like that, so I don't really know what happened. But then they talk about her boyfriend. She's obsessed with him. He's got her like wrapped on his finger, and he brings up that Lala's acting like very weird when he's over. She's like closing the curtains whenever she hears a noise. She thinks it's a knock at the door. She gets like really on edge. So Lisa and James are like really concerned because they're like, what exactly is going on? But like that's basically where the conversation ends. And now episode 10. Half the gang is in the RV, and Jax and Brittany are actually fighting a lot. Obviously everyone feels like super uncomfortable. At some point Jax is like aside with the guys and they're like, hey, like you have to be nice to Brittany, stop disrespecting her, stop being rude to her because she's gonna leave you. Then they go to the race and ask her race. Tom, I think he has, I forget the name, he has one of the drivers sign his like flat iron, which I found so funny. The driver was like, you know, no one has ever asked me to sign a flat iron. The girls go to meet with Saucy's friend and they do a little clam bake on the beach where they meet the rest of her friends' friends, and Saucy it's kind of like eyeing a few people in the group, so love that for her. Love that she's like, you know, branching out, and oh my god, why are they unsticking from the board? She like has someone to think about besides Patrick. After the race, the gang who's in Sonoma goes out for dinner. The whole group basically calls out Jax on how he's treating Brittany and basically just questions him on his relationship. Brittany's like very uncomfortable, but she's kind of like biting her tongue to see like, you know, which Jax is gonna answer, how the conversation is gonna go. But then eventually she calls him out because she's like annoyed. She's annoyed. She wants the conversation to end. So that's like a pretty big thing, and Jax is like, if you guys don't drop it, I'm actually gonna leave. So they move topics. They go on to talking about Lala, and we find out that Ariana, like, she did check her socials. Turns out Lala unfollowed her on like every single social. So they're like, you know, like, we invited you to our to my birthday, why are you unfollowed? It was weird. It was just very weird. Lala actually goes to see Lisa at work. Lisa's like, you know, what happened? Because like you were super excited to leave. You texted me for a time off. People said that you were really excited. And Ariana's like actually really sad that you didn't come. Like, what exactly happened? So Lala's like, you know, I didn't want to be around Jax. I didn't want to be around people who call me a homewrecker. I want to be around people who talk shit about me. And she was like really breaking down and crying. And she's like, Lisa, honestly, I don't know if like serves a place for me. Lisa's like, girl, you're Lala freaking Kent. Get your shit together. Not everyone is gonna like you. Not everyone is gonna want to be your friend. Don't like lose your job because of that. Don't let other people dictate your life. So after the little pep talk from Lisa, Lala's like, you know what? I'm gonna stay for now. Thank you, Lisa. So going back to Montauk, the girls are at Saucy's friend's like rented house. They have a little dinner. Like the whole gang goes to the pool. And at some point, Saucy's alone with this guy, Kyle. At first, you're like, okay, I like where this is going. I'm excited because like Saucy obviously doesn't know him that well, but she's like, oh, Kyle, like he's kind of cute. They're alone. Kyle is like very drunk, right? I'm sure he's a sweetheart, but he's like very drunk. And just like what he said is like very weird. He's like very awkward. He forgets her name twice, just like makes her feel super uncomfortable. And she was wearing a like one piece that kind of had like, it was like a mock neck type thing. So Kyle is just like, oh, you know, never been in a hot tub with like someone wearing a turtleneck, reminds me of like Steve Jobs. Saucy's like, I'm sorry, what? And then at some point, Kyle points out being able to see her nipple. So Saucy's like, dude, you forgot my name, compare me to Steve Jobs, point out being able to see my nipple, like what is wrong with you? So Saucy obviously very like creeped out, very like, and honestly, same. And she was like talking to her friends about it. And her friends were like, Kyle's actually such a sweet like guy. We love him. But it's like meeting him when he's drunk. Like obviously he's not a good drunk. And like meeting him when he's drunk, you do get a bad impression. They basically called him like a frat boy gone wrong. And I'm like, that is literally who Kyle is. Jax and Brittany have a conversation. And she's like, Jax, honestly, I do not feel appreciated. Jax tries back with being like, I feel underappreciated also. They kind of talk about it more, kind of get to like work things out. And Jax is like, you know what, Brittany, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to work on my words more because I, like, you know, obviously he doesn't want to hurt her. So he's like, I apologize. I'm gonna try to, like, do better. Episode 11. Everyone is back at Sir. And Lala actually goes to talk to Tom and Ariana. Lala doesn't really apologize for not coming, but she's like, hey, you know, I don't want to be around with people who are gonna say bad things about me, people who don't like me. And Ariana and Tom are like, you know, if we heard anything, like, we would have stood up for you. Like, we would have had your back. She doesn't really seem like appreciative for having been invited. Doesn't really seem like appreciative for her friendship with Tom and Ariana. And Ariana's kind of like annoyed because it's like, I never really got like a proper apology, but like, whatever, like it's in the past, whatever. I hate how these pictures keep on flopping up. I need to buy proper tape for season 6. Like, I only have double-sided, and apparently double-sided is like not working. So I apologize for me like literally taping down every single 5 seconds. I hate this as much as you do. Kristen has a little improv show. Obviously the entire gang goes to support. She is with Rachel on the stage with a few other people. In this show, the theme is like dick pics, right? You know what? You would assume, like, obviously, I know you can't just like Google that and like find, like, I've never Googled it. I don't know what you'd find on Google. But it's like, there's so many options to go for that's not Jax, right? So basically what Kristen and Rachel do is that in their skit, like there's this app that like turns the pic into like art, but you can like very clearly like see the outline still there. So the girls like pull up, like show a picture of an artwork. I think it was like Starry Night, and they just like have it in there. It's actually so funny because I think the first person in the group was Katie. So Katie turns to Schwartz and she's like, is that Jax's? Because basically Jax was seeing a girl and she like leaked his nudes and everyone is like, oh my god, that's Jax's. The way that everyone in the group recognized it was Jax's, kind of concerning. But it's like, yeah, Kristen and Rachel were like, let's just use Jax's. You know, if he was single, that's one thing. Brittany's there, not really considered for Brittany. So obviously Brittany, super annoyed, like really not happy about it. And she's like, you know what, Kristen, you could have at least given me a heads up. You know, so Kristen like never really fully apologized. Brittany's like, don't know how I feel about that. She's like trying to let it go. Next day, Stassi and Kristen go over to Brittany's. First, Kristen apologizes, so we love that. Thank you, Kristen. And then they listen to the first episode of Stassi's podcast. Brittany actually says that after they filmed it, Jax took the test again with her and he was a sociopath again. So 2 times, it's kind of accurate. The girls move on to talking about Lala. You know, like Lala and James are supposed to be friends, right? But basically, like, Lala has been going around saying how she hates James, they're not actually friends, but she's constantly posting him online. So we're like, that's a little sus. Lala actually goes over to James's. James is like, oh, do you want ice cream when they get in? Lala's like, why are you asking me for if I want ice cream? Like, I'm a child, like, I'm not a child, right? And James is like, well, you know, like, I'm sober, I don't drink anymore. And Lala's kind of like giving him shit for being sober. She was like, oh, be an adult, like, have a drink. Not really what friends would do. But anyways, James asked her, like, why didn't you go to Sonoma with the group? Like, you seem really excited. Lala's like, you know, I wanted to, but then at the end I was like, I'd rather not. And I just went to an expensive hotel to spend time with my dog. James is like, you know, I don't think that's true. I don't think it was just you and your dog. But Lala's like, no, it was just me and my dog. And then also James brings up, like, who exactly is financing all this? Obviously, we know that it is Lala's boyfriend, but like, it starts a fight between them. Obviously, these two is gonna get heated very fast. Not very fun. Stassi and Kristen go to drinks with James. They want answers. So when James gets there, they tell him that Lala has been talking shit behind his back, basically saying that he's out cheating on Raquel, they're not really friends, she doesn't really like him. And James basically claps back by talking about Lala's boyfriend. We really find out some tea over here. Turns out Lala's boyfriend basically paid for the house that they were staying at Coachella, basically bought the passes and everything, and James went because they were friends. And James had to sign an NDA. So when he tells the girls that, they're like, an actual NDA? He's like, yeah, he pulls out the NDA. Basically, the whole thing was that James could not talk about Lala's boyfriend, like, anywhere. And his name is not in the NDA, so Stassi and Kristen, like, could not figure out who it was. But then James drops a little bit of info also. He's like, you know, Tom and Ariana were also there. They probably had to sign it. Honestly, after this, I was like, I'm so curious who she was seeing. Like, I need to know the tea. Obviously, they're not gonna say it unless it's, like, okay or, like, it comes out in, like, normal life. But yeah, I was like, I need to know, like, I felt like Stassi and Kristen. I was like, I need to know. Brittany's mom comes to visit. I understand where Jax is coming from. He feels like very uncomfortable because her mom is like really being pushy about certain subjects. So her mom, like, basically first thing she asked, like, oh, have you guys joined a church? Jax, you can tell he's honestly like very uncomfortable with it. He's like, no, you know, personally, these are my beliefs. I don't like it. And it's like, I get that it's what her mom's used to, it's what Brittany's used to. And it's like, there has to be compromises, but Jax is like really, really against it. And then also her mom is like, oh, you know, what's the timeline for getting married? Obviously, that's like a very uncomfortable question for Jax. And it's like all throughout the time that she's here, there's a lot of tension between Brittany and Jax. Yes, her mom is like seeing signs and maybe like, he's not the best person. Like, she sees like who he really is. But it's also like, I get why Jax is so on edge, so like uncomfortable, because like the questions are, you know, it's questions that would make anyone feel uncomfortable, so I really understand both sides. Obviously, since her mom's here, she's also invited to Katie's bridal shower, and Lisa has a conversation with her because Brittany's like, I really want you to meet Lisa. She has a conversation with Lisa, and Lisa asks, you know, like, what do you think about Jack, stuff like that. Brittany's mom is like, I honestly really like him, I want them to get married. Lisa's like, are you sure? Like, we're talking about Jax Taylor here. Her mom's like, yeah, love him. If Brittany's mom is all for it, love that. So the girls first tell Katie and Sheena about the NDA, and then later on, Sheena, Kristen, and Saucy go to Ariana and ask about the NDA. Ariana's like, I never signed one, I don't know what you're talking about, like we stayed at the house, but we don't have to sign anything or like whatever. And the girls are like, you know, like, stop lying, I know you did it, blah, blah, blah. And it starts a bit of a fight. Katie's like, you know what? It's my bridal shower. I'm not doing this. Like, no. If you guys want to start a fight, you fight. I'm out. I'm done. Stassi gets like very, very aggressive. And at some point, she's like, why are you even here? Ariana's like, I'm here for Katie. I care about Katie. I don't give a shit about you. And I mean, obviously, I do get that it hurts like Stassi's feelings. But it's like, you're being super pushy onto Ariana. Like, Ariana at some point, she's gonna have enough and she's gonna clap back. But yeah, that's where we basically end this episode. So episode 12 opens up on Sandoval basically talking about his birthday party. So this year he's like, I do want to do a little like fundraiser party. He wants to raise money for kids in, I forget which country, but like he wants to raise money for kids. And then he's talking with Brittany and they're like, should we invite, you know, Stassi and Kristen? And he's like, you know what, I wouldn't want to, but like the more people there, the more donations, the more money, so like whatever, let's just invite them. Katie and Tom actually had a fight. So we find out that after the bridal shower, obviously Katie has a bunch of gifts, right? So she texts Tom, she's like, hey, can you help me pick things up from the car? He's basically like, do it yourself because I'm out with the guys, I'm drinking, I'm having fun. Obviously Katie gets like super annoyed and she starts like rage texting. Like at this point I can understand why she's rage texting. Started this huge fight between them. How much like happens throughout the day. We see a lot of like Brittany's mom just like annoying Jax, just like Jax being like very on edge and pissed off over the tiniest little things. Then we jump all the way to Sandoval's birthday party. Jax, it wasn't the first time his credit card got declined. It got declined in front of Brittany's mom. And then at the party, when they're making a donation, his card gets declined again in front of Brittany's mom. Not the best like impression on her mom, but Brittany's like, you know what, whatever, I'll pay, it's fine. Ariana and Sheena get to talking at the party and they talk about Shay. So Sheena's like, you know, things are actually going really well. We're doing like so much better. But he's not around as much. He's not answering texts as much. Ariana's like, you know, yeah, you're doing better, but it's like, how much better are you doing? And Sheena really opens up. She's like, I don't feel like I can be this open and honest with the other girls without feeling attacked in some way. So Ariana's like, you know, if you're not comfortable talking about like these big problems, maybe you're not actually friends with them. Like, it says a lot about your friends if you can't open up. They have a little heart-to-heart cute moment. I love that for them. Also want to add, Tom's goal was to raise 5K. They ended up raising 8.6, so love that. Love that for Tom. Birthday was a success. We find out from Lisa that Miss Lala has not been showing up for work. So obviously Peter and Lisa are like kind of confused, kind of annoyed because they're like, she's absolutely unreliable. Lisa's like, you know, I had talks with her, I gave her chances, like, Lala can't get your shit together, basically. I don't know if you remember this, but Jax's birthday is like super close to Sandoval's. We have Jax planning his birthday also. And Jax this year, he's like, you know, we're going to be doing the roast of Jax Taylor, hosted by Kristen Dowdy. Who thought that was a good idea? I don't know, but that was Jax's plan. That's what Jax wanted, so everyone is gonna deliver. Sandoval goes over to Sheena's to basically like talk about what he's gonna be saying throughout his speech. Not his speech, but his roast, basically. What he's gonna be saying in his roast. Then they also start talking about Katie. And Sheena's like, I do feel like Katie's like a completely different person since she became friends with like Stassi again. And they both talk and they're like, Katie does have a drinking problem. Like, I don't know how we're gonna help her fix it, but like she has a drinking problem, like she has to recognize that. And the episode ends with the roast of Jax Taylor. He's just there in his like little chair with a crown on his head, and everyone goes up, everyone gives a little roast. Brittany's mom is there, so it's kind of weird, you know. Literally nothing is off the table, everything is said. Yeah, I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Like, I feel like it would have been funny if Brittany's mom was not there, because you could see like Brittany, she was having fun, but she also felt like kind of uncomfortable at some comments. Obviously her mom was like more concerned about some, but you know, Mr. Jax Taylor was happy. That's all that matters. Episode 13, we have James who goes out for lunch with his mom. He basically tells her that he doesn't have a job in Pup and Stir. He really misses it. They also talk about Raquel. His mom loves Raquel, so we love that. He also talks about how Kristen is like talking shit about him, and his mom is like, you know, like her karma's gonna come back and like slap her in the face, and her karma's gonna be her not being able to have children. Even James is like shocked, and it's like, ma'am, wow, like love that, but like, wow, girl, wow. We finished last episode with the roast of Jax Taylor. So obviously Brittany's mom does have some concerns. So they talk, and I forget who brought it up, but someone brought up the whole John, I don't know if you remember season 3 in Miami, it was very unclear what happened between Jax and John, if things happened, but that whole situation was brought up. The mom brings it up. Jax is like very defensive, very, I wouldn't say aggressive, but just like very heated, and it's like I understand where he's coming from, but I also understand like where she's coming from. She's like confused, trying to understand, but he gets like very aggressive, very defensive, kind of like starts a fight between him and Brittany. He does recognize, okay, I have to go away to like not have this be more heated. So not a very productive conversation. Tom, the guys, and Ariana all go to shop for suits for the groomsmen, basically. And then all the girls, minus Katie, go for lunch, and they decide, you know, where do we want to do the bachelorette party? Let's do New Orleans. Saucy's like, you know what, perfect. I'm from there, I can plan it. They wanted to go out of the country. Someone doesn't have a passport, so they were like, okay, it has to be in the US somewhere. So that's why they chose New Orleans. Obviously, we're getting closer to the wedding. James has a little show that night. Obviously, Raquel is gonna be there. But Ellie's like, you know what? We should probably go to the show, call him out on him cheating on Raquel. Obviously, things aren't gonna go well. At James's show, Kristen walks in. Where is she? Kristen walks in, and Sandoval immediately is like, Kristen walks in, that's like a bad omen. Everyone knows like shit is gonna go down. Gigi and Ellie go up to Raquel, and they're basically like, hey, you know, James like slept with me, he slept with me, like he is cheating on you. And Raquel is like basically accusing them of being like obsessed with James. Like she doesn't want to hear it, she doesn't believe it, because James told her like his own story. So obviously Raquel does not believe the girls. James, obviously he sees, comes over, starts calling the girls names. Gigi like gets annoyed. She kind of goes to like shove him. James just like licks his hand, like rubs it on her face. Yeah, not very mature, but like whatever. Sandoval goes in to break it up. Once the fight is done, James sees Carter, Kristen, and Jax in the corner. So he goes up to them, calls Kristen a jealous bitch. Obviously, Jax is like defending Kristen. He throws his drink at James. James fires back, throwing a glass. Starts like a huge fight. And they all get kicked out. Lovely fun. Episode 14. So Lisa talks with Ariana and Jax about the night before, and they tell her everything that happened. So Lisa's like, Jax, like, did you not think that was like a bad idea? You know, bringing everyone to like cause a scene? And Jax is like, yeah, I know, of course it was wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyways. It's like, sir, you're literally in your late 30s. I love the drama. I appreciate the drama, but it's like, you know, Raquel and James go out for dinner. Obviously, they talk about like the night before, and Raquel is like, I don't know if I can trust you to not cheat on me when I'm back at school. So it starts a little thing, like, we don't know what's gonna happen, puts a little tension in the relationship. Brittany and Jax actually go to church, and Jax is like, you know what? It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So we love that. We love that. Schwartz is talking with the guys, and they're trying to figure out what to do for his bachelor party. And Schwartz is like, you know what? Let's do full drag. The guys are like, you know what, Schwartzy? It's your bachelor party, whatever you want, we're gonna do. They actually go to Lisa to like try on outfits. We were introduced to Jacqueline Taylor, super funny, just like seeing all the guys with like her accessories. Super funny. We actually have Pandora, who organized a little spa day for the girls. So we have Kristen, Stassi, who's like getting unstuck, Katie, and Sheena, and also Ariana, who all go over to Pandora's. At first it starts with like a super cute day. Everyone is having fun, but then we get to lunchtime, and at lunchtime the girls talk. So Sheena wants an apology from Katie for just being like super mean and aggressive over text. Katie calls Sheena fake, so it's a big thing. Sheena like doesn't feel appreciated. She doesn't throw her meal, but she like throws her napkin. gets up, storms off. Ariana goes to talk to her, gets her to calm down. Then she comes back, talks with Katie. They fix things and they actually have a really, really good time. So love that. The episode finishes with Katie and Tom going out to dinner and they kind of have a little fight and Tom is literally asking her like, oh, have you been drinking? Because of like her attitude. So obviously Katie does not want to hear that. Starts a fight and we're just like thinking they're literally supposed to get married in like less than a month. They're fighting so much. So not even just me, but like everyone on the cast are just like, is this marriage actually going to happen or not? Next episode, Stassi's like super depressed about Patrick. So Kristen's like, you know what? We're gonna find you a guy. We're gonna get you on the dating apps. We're gonna put a little spark back in your life. It's a Daily Mail party at SUR, and basically the people requested for James to play. So Lisa's like, you know what? Since they wanted you, you can play, but like you have to be on like your best behavior because like I'm not gonna tolerate anything. We have that party, and then the whole gang is like getting ready for New Orleans, right? Tom and Katie are packing. They basically come with a pact. So Tom's like, hey, you know, no matter what, I will back you up, you know, I will defend you, I'll be there for you. And Katie's like, I promise I'm not going to be rage texting. Will they hold their promises? Who knows? But they make this little pact when they're getting ready for the trip. Then the gang gets to New Orleans. Jax obviously reserved the room for him and Brittany. He goes to pay, card is declined. Once again, Brittany has to pay for them. Everyone kind of goes to their room for a little bit. Stassi feels like kind of depressed, kind of sad, because she's like, you know, all my friends, they're in a room with their boyfriend or their girlfriend, and like, I'm just here alone. So like, she's not really feeling her best. We also find out that it's around Sheena and Shay's wedding anniversary, so they decide like, you know what, we're gonna go out for dinner, do something just us two, then we're gonna like meet all of you guys later on. During their dinner, we find out Shay is 9 months sober, and he really shows his appreciation for Sheena. He's like, you know, I'm at this point because of you, like you helped me, like you basically brought me here, so super, super thankful for her. We kind of like move on to the other gang. Sandoval and Katie are having a little conversation, and Tom is like, you know, I think there's like something behind all of these fights. Like you really need to find what the cause is and like fix it before the wedding. He also recommends that they try therapy. So while that conversation is happening, Ariana and Schwartz are talking. What Schwartz says really does concern Ariana because she's like, you know, hearing this is like not normal when you guys are like supposed to get married. He basically tells her that Katie does not remember a lot from their fights and it causes problems because like he tries to like understand her, tries to call her out on her actions because he cares about her, because he wants it to be better. And it's like when he tells that to Ariana, Ariana's like, you know, that's not normal, right? So Ariana can actually tell in her face, she's like concerned. She's like, I don't think they should be getting married. But anyways, you know, it's up to them to figure out their own things. And if they want to get married, they get married. If they don't, they don't. Lisa and James talk, and we find out that the event actually was a success. Like people love James. James like followed Lisa's rules. So James was like, you know what? Let me just like try asking Lisa for my job back. So he tries. Lisa's like, no. He really tries pushing. Lisa's like, what point of no don't you understand? Lisa basically shut down everything. You know, I'm like, will James eventually get his job back? I feel like he would. Like, I'd be surprised if he doesn't. But for now, Lisa's like, absolutely not. Back in New Orleans, we have Stassi. Oh my god. Stassi and Brittany who are having little chats. And Stassi tells Brittany that she's like really feeling sad, like she really misses Patrick. And she opens up. She's like, I felt like there was always this wedge between us because I was like one person around like you guys, my friends, and there was another person around him. And he never really wanted to meet the entire gang because of Jax. Obviously, he knew about Jax. So she was like, I felt like it had to be two different people. And that's what like broke us up. Brittany offers her full support. She's like, you know, I'm here for you if ever you have anything. Like, I'm here to talk. Like, Brittany's like being a super, super supportive friend. And I honestly, I love the relationship that they have. Because even though, you know, like Stassi was Jax's ex and Brittany is like currently dating him, I love how like good of a friendship they have. Jax sees them talking and he comes over and Stassi like mentions how things between her and Jax are like affecting her today. Jax breaks down crying. He apologizes. He truly feels so bad. You know, I'm happy that Stassi's like getting that from him. But it's also like Brittany's like right over there and Brittany sees it and she's like, okay, he's acting like this for this girl who he's not dating anymore, but like me, his actual girlfriend, like he can't take accountability for his own actions. I've never seen him like this. He never apologizes like this. So obviously Brittany's gonna feel like a little bit jealous, and she also says like, I felt a little bit jealous of Stassi because like, you know, why is Jax acting this way in front of her but not with me? Next morning is episode 16 and they have a little chat about the night before. So she brings up him crying and Jax apologizes. You know, I'm like super sorry that I acted this way with her and not with you. I love you. I care about you. I'm gonna really take accountability in my actions with you. We did see another side of him, but like, do we trust that? I don't know. It's like, it's Jax. It's like, I love Brittany, and I want her to be happy. But I'm like, I don't know if Jax is like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But honestly, Brittany deserves so much. I don't think Jax is the one for her. We also find out what happened the night before. The gang left the bar around 4:30, and Katie wanted to get an Uber because she didn't feel safe. And Tom was like basically telling her no, making a big deal out of things. Started a fight over what seemed to be nothing. Like he was yelling at things, and Katie obviously, because of that, she felt like he wasn't really supportive. Big problems the night before, and it's probably like 2 weeks before the wedding. So yeah, the girls go to the seafood restaurant, and Kristen and Sheena aren't really fans of seafood, so they go off in their own little corner, have a talk. They don't really like the smell of, I think it was oysters. So they're talking, and then Kristen's like, you know, Carter and I were talking about this, and we both think that the reason why Katie picks all these little fights is because Schwartz cheated on her with that girl from Vegas. You know, it could have just been like a little rumor, like what they think, but she's like, you know, Katie confirmed it when she was drunk. Obviously, she's drunk, so like she might not remember, or like she might not, it might just be like a spur of the moment thing, but it's like, you know, it's probably that, right? So Sheena and Kristen are like, you know what? We need to get her to admit it when she's like sober, and to like work on things, because like you are getting married. If like him cheating, or him like it's rumored that he cheated, is a problem, you need to talk through it. You need to be fine with it to marry him. And if you're not fine with it, don't marry him. So they're like, okay, like we really need Katie to admit that like that's the root of the problem. While the girls are doing their brunch, the groomsmen plus Ariana go on this little swamp tour, and the guys are just like messing with Schwartz with like little alligators, with snakes, even the tour guide. So that's like actually super funny. After that, they go have lunch and they start talking, and the guys are like really trying to convince Schwartz to like go to therapy, try to fix things with Katie, because they're like, dude, you're getting married, like you have to fix these problems. Will they go to therapy? Who knows? But anyway, the whole gang gets back to the hotel. The girls have a female stripper come over, and while they're having fun with that, the guys are going full drag. Guys go out to a little sports bar, and we actually have their names. I wish I printed out pictures of like the guys in drag. Schwartz, his drag name is Visa Vanderpump. Jax, where is he? Jax is Tina Lamar. Sandoval is Jen Rod. And tell me why Sandoval as a woman, like not with the black hair, with the blonde hair, even Lisa was like, he actually looks like a real person. That was like really, really funny. We have Petra, who is Petra Honeysuckle, and then Ariana, who is Jordan Tyler. So funny. So funny. While the guys are doing that, the girls were like, you know, for Sheena's bachelorette, we did like very typical bachelorette things. Let's go to a murder tour. And I'm like, that seems so cool. Would I want to do a murder tour for my bachelorette party? I do not know. But that seems so cool. Everyone is back at the hotel, and obviously it's a Vanderpump vacation, so we're gonna have a little bit of drama that ensues. So Kristen actually pulls Schwartz, and she's like, hey, you know, the reason why you and Katie are fighting all the time is because you slept with this girl from Vegas. Obviously all of them are just like either tipsy or like drunk. So Schwartz is like, you know what, I'm not hearing this, like walks away. Then Kristen, like, she's obviously following him, trying to get him to agree. Carter comes in on it, Sandoval gets in on it. So it's this huge argument in the lobby of the hotel, by the way, that basically to blow off steam. Carter, Schwartz, and Sandoval are like, you know what, we're gonna go up to the room, like we're gonna have this fight like somewhere private. So most people are like in their rooms at this point. A few of them are still in the lobby. Like I think Ariana, Sheena, someone else, and Kristen are in the lobby, right? Everyone else is in their rooms. Stassi's actually so funny because she's like sitting outside of someone's hotel room, and you see her head just like peeking over the corner looking at this fight, because Carter, Schwartz, and Sandoval are just fighting mid-hallway. Brittany and Jax here. I don't know who else is in the room, but like everyone hears because they're being like so loud. Basically, the episode ends with Tom being like, I can't marry Katie. So we're like, oh no. Episode 17 opens up right where we left off, and you have Jax who leaves his room to go talk to Schwartz. And he's like, hey, you know, you guys have to get to a good place. And if you can't be like literally civil with each other, maybe you should call off the wedding. Tom, after some time, decides to go talk with Katie. Katie's with her girls. She doesn't want to hear it. It's still like this exact same night, right? Katie's like, I don't want to hear it. Like, no. So Katie's with her girls, trying to cheer her up, make her feel a little bit better. Schwartz like goes off on his own to like sleep it off. And then Jax comes back to the room and he talks with Brittany. And he basically tells Brittany everything that he knows from the story. So this was back when Jax was dating Carmen. Him and Carmen were in bed in their hotel room. Schwartz just like walks in and he's like, I did something bad. He's like very clearly drunk, very anxious, very nervous. And he basically like admitted to hooking up with this girl To what extent hookup, we do not know. But we know that like something happened with this girl, but like he did not remember what exactly happened. He just knew that like something happened. The next day when everyone has calmed down, Tom tries to talk to Katie again. They're a little like on edge at first, very like distant from each other. And Katie like basically just wants him to admit to having done that. And Schwartz is like, I promise I did not do it. So they talk through it, work through it, and they're like, okay, the wedding is literally 2 weeks away. Sorry, I got distracted by a tree that's just like, I don't know if it's the wind or someone's doing something outside, but anyways, Schwartz and Katie agree, okay, wedding is 2 weeks away. We're not gonna cause any problems. Like if something comes up, we're gonna push it aside. I'm sorry, I have people like shoveling outside because it's like it snowed. It's been snowing for the entire day. I'm just like very curious when I see people cleaning snow. Sorry, I get so distracted. But yes, they said that if anything happens, we're gonna push it aside to not have it come up before the wedding, and we'll figure out all our problems after the wedding. Personally, don't think that's a good way to go, but like, you know what, if it works for them, that's great. In episode 18, we have Schwartz and Katie who go over to Lisa's and they basically ask her to officiate the wedding. Love how they're trying to include Lisa, but Lisa's like very not sure because she's like, you know, this is like a lot of responsibility, and it's like, I do not believe that you guys should be getting married. Like where I see you right now, I don't think it's the best idea. I'm not convinced that this is gonna last, basically. So she's like, you guys have to really make sure that it's gonna work and convince me that it's gonna last. So I do this once and like you're not gonna get married again. You know, she's honored, but she's like, you guys have a lot of problems. Tom is like, I need to find a backup plan. So Tom, Sandoval, and Jax are going to get spray tents and they're trying to figure out who's gonna be his backup plan. So obviously Jax offers. I forget if it was Schwartz or it was Tom, but one of them are like, you know, having Jax officiated is like having Lucifer officiate a baptism. Which, like, that is so true. So I don't know if Schwartz did have a backup plan or not, but it's like, I really don't think Jax is the best idea. Stassi's back out on the dating scene, so she goes on a blind date organized by one of her friends, and the date goes like really, really well. Like, looks like she's having fun, but at the end she's like, I wasn't feeling it. Like, there's nothing bad about him. He's like a super great guy and I had fun. I don't know. It's just not doing it for me. As usual, we have the official Sir annual photo shoot. There's like nothing like remarkable that happened. Lisa needed more guys, so Schwartz actually like took part in the photo shoot. Then after that, Lisa goes to lunch with Katie and Tom, and throughout like the photo shoot, she saw that, I don't know, she saw like something different in them, and they were working together, not against each other. And she's like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna officiate the wedding. And I'm like, I love that. I love that. Episode 19 is where like all the wedding prep starts. So we find out that Schwartz actually has 3 older triplet brothers, and basically they can't make it to the wedding because of like money. They can't afford it. Tom and Jax are like, you know what, our wedding gift to Tom is gonna be to fly out all the brothers. It was like a little complicated because they all apparently shared one cell phone, so getting in contact with them was like hard because it's like they didn't really communicate. It was a hassle, but they're like, you know what, we love Tom. This is our gift to Tom. James actually goes to dinner at Raquel's mom's house. It's her mom and her sister because her dad is away on like business. And they started talking. He tells them that he doesn't have his job anymore at Sir at Pump, but he has a new gig. So, you know, like he has his life like somewhat together. He tells them he's not drinking anymore. They're all so happy. And it was honestly such a wholesome moment. Like you can tell that her family actually really, really likes James. Like obviously we don't know much about Raquel, but from what we've seen, I like them together. I hope that he really did not cheat. I hope he doesn't break Raquel's heart. Like obviously don't know much about Raquel, but I like them. I like them together. Lala shows up to Sir for literally the first time in 2 months. So Lisa's like pretty surprised because she's like, girl, I literally haven't seen you for like the entire summer. But Lala basically apologizes for all of her actions, for not being there, for just like not being like super, super reliable, because she does like really value her relationship with Lisa. And Lisa's like, you have to get your shit together because like, what the hell is this? She gives her shit for her behavior and for her like just like not being honest with like people who are supposedly her friends. And Lala opens up saying she has like really bad anxiety, that sometimes it's like paralyzing. And Lisa's like, you know, I understand that, but it's like, these are your friends. Obviously, I'm not telling you to share every like deepest, darkest detail of your life, but it's like, be honest with your friends, you know? So I don't know if like Lala's gonna change from that conversation, but that was I feel like that's a very important conversation that we had. We kind of like saw something that could kind of like explain Lala's behavior. Obviously doesn't justify it, but kind of explains it. The episode ends with Schwartz brothers apparently missing their flight, and you know, Jax and Sandoval are like, dude, there's like literally 3 of them. How come none of them ever missed a flight? It's like your brother's wedding, right? They miss their flight. And then Tom also, like Sandoval also missed his flight because he forgot his suit. And it was actually so funny because like Ariana basically like texted him a picture like in the plane out the window. She was like, where are you? Tom actually got to the airport as they closed the gate, so they did not let him in, and like he sent her a picture like from the terminal, like literally looking at the plane. That was kind of sad, but at the end there was no problem because the whole gang like decided to get there like before the actual wedding. So episode 20 starts with Lisa like first arriving. So Lisa basically gives Katie a preview of like what she's gonna say, and Katie is like, this is literally perfect, I love it. Lisa, you're amazing, I love you. While they're having that conversation, Ken talks with Schwartz and he's like, you know, how are your vows? You need help. Schwartz is like, I don't have them done yet. Ken is like, oh no. The gang is having their rehearsal dinner. And then once that ends, obviously everyone goes like split up to like talk in their own little corners. And the brothers actually arrive, but they don't have like anything that they can wear. It's like a fancy event. Sandoval just has to like dress him, but once it's done, Jackson Sandoval brings Schwartz to see his brothers. They walk out like one by one, so he's not like expecting all of them to be there, and he's like breaking down crying. It's actually so wholesome. Honestly, like that was probably the best wedding gift that they could have gotten for Schwartz. Lisa and Sheena get to talking, and Lisa asks her about Shay, and Sheena's like, you know, we're doing amazing, like there's no more pills, like I feel like we have our spark back. How Sheena was talking about it seemed like everything was perfect. And you know, Lisa's like, obviously I'm gonna believe Sheena because like I don't know in their marriage, but it's like I never see Shay, so I have my doubts. But obviously, you know, like if Sheena says that everything is good, everything's fine, she feels like the butterflies, the sparks, everything. If she says she feels that they're good, they're good. Then we have the ceremony that starts the actual wedding. Part of it starts in episode 20, but most of it is in episode 21. So episode 21, we get to the vows, and Schwartz, he pulls out a paper. He starts to read, but he's like, you know what? I don't need it. Rips it up, and he's like, no, I actually think I need it, and he pulls it out again. So that was kind of like funny. It was just like, it was so cute, so wholesome. Like even Sheena and Shay's wedding, like I actually cried because I grew to like love these characters. Same thing for Tom and Katie, because I feel like Tom and Katie, they've literally been there since day one. Like they used to be my favorite couple. Obviously they do have their problems, and I don't know how I feel about Schwartz. I genuinely really like them. And just like seeing them getting married, I'm like, oh my god, I love this. Jax was even like crying. Everyone was tearing up. Jax was crying. It was such a cute, wholesome moment. And unlike Sheena's wedding, everything was smoothly, so we love that. Lisa pulls Sandoval at some point, and she's like, hey, you know, I was thinking, you've been working for me for like a while. I was thinking of like a little like opportunity for you. So I just purchased this like property. I'm thinking of like this type of restaurant, and I want to bring you on as a partner. So Tom is obviously like mind blown. He was not expecting it at all. So he kind of like takes some time to think about it. He goes talks to Ariana, and at first, like before bringing that up, he tells Ariana, because obviously he's in like a wedding, it's like on his mind. He talks to Ariana being like, you know, I can see like marriage, like kids for myself, and like maybe not like the near future, but like, you know, coming up soon. And Ariana, like obviously we know that like she doesn't really want kids, doesn't really want to get married. Tom asked her, you know, what are your views on it? Like, do you see this in your future also? Ariana doesn't really give like a fixed answer, so I do not know what's gonna happen, but like I would honestly love to see a wedding between them. And then Tom also brings up his whole like thing with Lisa, and Ariana's like, oh my god, like you have to do it, that's amazing, it's such a good opportunity. So Tom goes back to talk with Lisa. He says like, I accept, I would love to be in business with you. Schwartz comes over a little bit tipsy, right? But Schwartz comes over and Lisa proposes it to him. So it's basically like her, Ken, Tom, and Tom, and they're gonna call the place Tom Tom. Basically have like the Schwartzes, the Toms be like the face of the business. Tom agreed, well, both Toms agreed, and it's like a super wholesome moment because I feel like that was like Lisa's like wedding gift to Schwartz. After the wedding, this honestly broke my heart. After the wedding, we have Sheena who goes over to Lisa. You know how at the wedding, Sheena was like, we're doing perfect, stuff like that. When she talks with Lisa now, we find out that it's really not going that well. Shay's barely home, he's not answering calls, and Sheena woke up one day and she was like, I have this weird feeling. She checks her emails, sees an overdraft notice, and goes to the bank account. Everything is drained besides like $30. She knew deep down in her heart Shay used this to buy drugs. And it breaks my heart because it's like, you don't want to see it happen. But Sheena tells Lisa, I'm going to meet with a divorce lawyer. Like, I'm not staying with him. Which, you know, obviously, like, Lisa's like, don't want to leave him. You're going to seem hurt. But, like, this is the best thing. Power through, it's gonna be fine. When Sheena gets home, she talks to Shay about it. And then he says that he didn't really come home because he needed time to figure things out, like away from people. And he felt like Sheena and their friends are always judging him. I can kind of like understand where he's coming from. But then when Sheena asks about the money, he's like, you know, I spent it all on like studio equipment. But obviously Sheena knows that it's a lie. His behavior did change, and it's like, I didn't really write my notes on it because it seemed insignificant at the time, but it's like maybe throughout the second half of the season, you really see a change in Shay. Like obviously when the entire group goes out, he's not there. When we see him, he seems very in his own corner. He doesn't really, like obviously I know that he loves Sheena, but it's like you see the distance. You see him not being super, super excited. Like he's just very different than how he was before. Really broke my heart. And like Sheena, she knows that he's lying. And the season ends with Sheena telling him that she's meeting with the divorce lawyers Monday. Editing Mila here. Okay, so I didn't really like wrap up this video properly because I thought I was gonna put season 6 in here, but then I was like, okay, this video is like already 2 hours, like above 2 hours long. If you had season 6, it's gonna be like way too long. So today we're only doing seasons 4 and 5. And in the future, I think I'm only going to be doing 2 seasons because they do get longer. Like it's the mid-20s in numbers of episodes. So having 3, like it does not make sense. It's like way too much. So part 3 is going to be season 6 and 7. Part 4 is going to be seasons 8 and 9. Part 5 is going to be 10 and 11. Okay, there's like a season 12. I can't really find it. We're going to see if I can find it or not. I don't know what's going to go on with that. But there's going to be 5 parts. So get excited. They're going to be coming out much closer to each other. I want to bring one out every single month. So we have one in April, May, June, July. I think I want to have all of them out by the beginning of August because in August I want to do Love Island UK and Love Island USA like last summer, which like those are the things that really got me into doing this. So yeah, that's the plan with this little concept. Once again, I really hope you guys enjoy it. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. I'm so sorry for the wait between part 1 and part 2, but from now on, gonna come out so much faster. The next one's gonna come out in like, I think 3 weeks. So definitely get excited. And yeah, all my socials are down below if you wanna go check me out. TikTok, Instagram, and Goodreads. And stay safe, protect your vibe. Definitely go watch Vanderpump Rules, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye guys!